Reinventing the Tattoo Community. You are watching a Reinventing Drawing Group with Jason Leeser, where artists from all around the world are encouraged to zoom in, work on any sort of artwork you might have. A lot of people will do their tattoo homework, but again, you could be drawing whatever you would like. If you want to join us, you need to find us at the Reinventing Community. So if you go to either of the app stores, you could pick your poison, either the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, or if you just want your ISP to read out your history, then you go straight to community.reinventingthetattoo.com. That was a geek joke. All of this, anyways, point being, we have a lot of live content. We stream out about 3 to 7 times a week. You could check out the schedule that's right there inside of the community. It's one of the main links because it's one of the cornerstones of the Reinventing community. We want to thank our sponsors, Inkjet Stencils. If you check out inkjetstencils.com, it's going to take you to like a main page. You have to find the right products, but they have paper inks that go through a mostly Epson continuous ink cartridges. Point being is, if you want to save time, save your hands, and save a little bit of dough, then you can do your tattoo reference on your iPad or your computer, and then simply print it out. So you have, richer stencils that, again, it's all digital stuff. It's pretty amazing. You can check out their webinars on the tattoo community, Reinventing the Tattoo Community. And you can also check out, let's see, Andre Malcolm or Frank Conception and Donna. They all have webinars, and they show off the stuff. We also have rawpigments.co. It's a pigment company based out of California, I believe, acrylic-free, vegan, and they are getting their, I guess everyone's kind of getting their pigments from the sources, but they are really tapped into the raw pigment source out there in California due to some of their, the way they got into the business, I guess. So check out, if you want some samples, then you can go to, check this out, reinventingthetattoo.com/equinox, and you sign up there to get a free pass to watch. Actually, it's pretty cool. It's what's playing back here. Android Jones does an hour and a half of visuals. Aja Lu does, it was live, now it's recorded, but he did a live soundtrack to it, which is awesome. Your clients will love it. You'll love it. You should put it on in your front room, or if you have a squirmy client, you put this in front of them and they're focused on this instead of the pain. It's out of control. And the music is really good. If I put it up, it might get flagged. But anyways, so if you check that out, you put in your information at the reinventingthetattoo.com/equinox, then you will get the watch. You get the watch link. It's a secret link, whatever. You need to register to see it. But once you get that link, if you scroll down to the bottom, you could fill out all of your information, and we have pretty awesome goodie bags that we're sending out. And if you've already filled out the information and you haven't gotten it yet, I know I keep saying this, they are actually getting put together and sending out as we speak. Today's Sunday. My guess is they go out on Monday or Tuesday, and this will start to be a rolling thing for a while. Anyways, you could get some raw pigment samples. You could also get Cheyenne cartridge samples and some other stuff. It's pretty cool for free. You have to be a tattooer, though. One of the questions is, when did you start professionally tattooing? Okay. What else do we have going on here? Regular shows are this 1 o'clock Eastern every Sunday is a Reinventing Drawing Group with Jason. Every 9 o'clock in the morning on Mondays, Eastern Standard, we have a Reinventing Drawing Group with our affiliate Jake Meeks from the Fireside Tattoo Network. And other special events that we have coming up. Actually, this Tuesday, we have another affiliate who's coming on to do an interview from Amy from the Apprenticeship Diaries. We'll be doing a full interview with Guy Aitchison about apprenticeships, which she's learned not only through her experience, but through interviewing a gazillion apprentices. And if you are an apprentice or an apprentice wannabe, that's not right, apprentice hopeful, then you want to check out the Apprenticeship Diaries. Find her find Amy on the app in the community, and then make sure your friends or shoot her a message. There will be a whole event that Amy and Kire are doing specifically for people who want apprenticeships. Tips on how to present, tips on portfolios, all the whole 9 yards. And actually, currently, if you are an apprentice drawer type, they're having a poster contest for the event. So, check that out. Let's see. I think we got everything, so I'm going to bounce into the background. Please let us know wherever it is that you're beaming in from, how it's working, if you have any questions, or if you want us to address any specific topics. And no matter where you're beaming in from, we have brand new Reinventing the Tattoo podcast channel and a brand new Reinventing the Tattoo YouTube channel. So while this project and community might be over 20 years old, these two channels are brand new. So please give them a follow, share them around with your friends, and ultimately enjoy the content. Let us know what you would like to see more of. And actually, I'm not going to be changing anything because Jason is the one who's driving the show this time. So I'm going to sit back and make sure this is working. How's it going, Jason?
Hey, Gabe, thanks a lot. It's going pretty well, man. Going pretty well. I'm getting my travel schedule finalized for the year. I'm
Oh,
fully
shit.
vaccinated.
That's a great.
So
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but the travel schedule is what I forgot. Thank you for reminding me.
you're very welcome.
So, if you don't mind, I'll hop right back into the end of this intro. Real world events are starting up again. The next one that we've got planned is the Paradise BYOB. It's going to be a very small show. We are still in the middle of a pandemic, so we're trying desperately not to have a lot of people there. It's October 3rd to the 6th. It's at Jiminy Peak. And a BYOB, bring your own brains, brushes, booze, bud, or berries if you're a vegan. I don't know. We're going to have a bunch of people come out. We're going to share ideas. I know that Bob Tyrell is going to be coming up, and we'll have, seminars. Right now, we're not really selling any tickets. We don't have a website or anything. Again, it's kind of like a picnic. It's a BYOB. And again, our sales pitch is kind of like, don't show up in person, just beam in. But if you do want to reserve your rooms, October 3rd to the 6th, it's a Sunday to the Wednesday, Jiminy Peak Mountain Resort in Western Massachusetts. Then we have got the Brussels Tattoo Convention that's coming up in November 12th to the 14th. Presuming that, we're all vaccinated up, presuming that quarantines and flights and all that are working, we'll be heading over to do a whole reinventing event. We'll have some drink and draws or a drawing group that's beaming in over there so we can connect the real world event with the crew here. We will have Nick Baxter and Ivana and I will be doing seminars. So we'll have 3 seminars going. And actually, Ivana's partner will be doing one on cosmetic tattooing. So that'll be pretty cool. And if you're a Reinventing the Tattoo course Canon subscriber, then we'll have a couple of events. So if you're in Europe and you're subscribed to the Reinventing the Tattoo, then we'll have some exclusive meet and greets and parties for you. How could you become a subscriber, you might ask? Oh, I can't believe we almost did this without telling you, because actually the Reinventing the Tattoo subscribers are the actual beating heart of that keeps us going. Our sponsors keep this free. The Reinventing subscribers keep this the spirit alive and going and growing. What this means is if you go to courses.reinventingthetattoo.com, the first one you'll see there is the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon. There are a bunch of other courses that you should definitely check out, including the business one. But the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon gets you guys' online course. Started off as this 3-ring binder, turned into the book and the DVDs. We moved it online about 8 years ago. We just updated it to a brand new comprehensive educational platform that is it's fucking awesome. It really is. Guy's always been able to get into the digital version and edit it. And for the last 2 months, he's been going through and editing with people. He's got some guest chapters coming in. Actually, Jason's working on some stuff with him for, he'll tell you about the stuff that he's working on with. And anyways, for $300 a year, it's well worth it. You get not only the whole canon, all the videos, there's exclusive Monday evening exercises every Monday at 9 o'clock. Guy does exclusive exercises where he leads the Reinventing subscribers through. And then, you send in your homework from the week before, and he will actually critique you. So if you ever wanted to get critiqued by Guy Aitchison, if you're a tattooer, I don't understand why you wouldn't. Check it out. That's well worth the price. And next year, we've got July 8th to the 10th is the Rock River Tattoo and Art Expo in Rockford, Illinois. TattooArtExpo.com. If you go immediately there, you're going to be like, what the fuck, this is old info. But within a day or two, we'll have it revamped. Jack Rudy just did new lettering for us. We're contacting all of the headliners and all of the people that were invited to tattoo to let them know that we have secured our 2022 dates for the Rock River Tattoo Art Expo near Chicago. Guy is going to be leading the Reinventing courses. We will have tattooers. It'll be a full-on tattoo and art festival in Rockford. And then, we do actually have Paradise Tattoo Gathering planned for next October. I think it's the 20th to the 22nd. It's one of those weekends. I'll get the real dates so that I don't sound like a convention producer that doesn't know the dates to their own show next year. It's the third weekend of October, 4 days full on. It'll be the 10-year anniversary Paradise Tattoo Gathering that we were not able to have. And if you do have old tickets, don't worry, you will be able to use them for the next show. Okay, now I'm done. Thank you for reminding me about real world events. Oh, and now, Jason, you're talking about real world events. Gettysburg, so where are you headed off to?
Yeah, so July 9th through 11th, I'll be at the Battlefield Tattoo Expo in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I'll probably try to do some live webcasting while I'm there, but please, if you're anywhere in the area, feel free to stop by, say hi. I'm actually trying to get some little flyers printed out to give you guys like little 10% off discount codes for the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon. In fact, I'll splash one up. I've got one right now for tuning in. This is 10% off. All you have to do is go to reinventingthetattoo.com/next level. That'll get you 10% off the Canon. Saving a couple of bucks here and there definitely isn't going to hurt. I've been joining in on a lot of the Monday night classes, and it's enlightening to say the least. It's really helped take me to that next level. So definitely recommend you check it out. But I'm trying to organize a couple of specials with the Reinventing the Tattoo Canon, specifically for the Battlefield Expo. We're working on some convention banners now, so just look for the banners and come and say hi. I'm also going to be there with Ricardo Certivant at Candor Tattoo. So he'll be working it there as well. It's going to be a great time. Definitely love to have plenty of people popping in. So feel free to stop by and say hi. After that, I'm actually planning on working at the Philadelphia Tattoo Convention. That's going to be in September. I forget the dates right offhand, but I already have the booth reserved and the hotel reserved and everything like that. After that, I will be at the Paradise BYOB event in October as well, and the Brussels Tattoo Convention. So be on the lookout for some webcasts coming from overseas and other states as well. It's gearing up to be a pretty good year so far. I'm still trying to get in touch with a couple of people from the Puerto Rico Tattoo Show to see if that's going on this year or not. But obviously, I'll be updating people as I learn more. But I'd love to actually bring, some Reinventing the Tattoo people down to the Puerto Rico show, which I'm always impressed with how it's run. Just how smooth everything goes. The caliber of artists that are there are incredible. So highly recommend you check that out and see if that's going on this year. Like I said, I'm trying to figure out what's going on as far as the dates go. It's usually in the beginning of December, but as I learn more, I'll be happy to update everyone. Great. So that's kind of like my little opening spiel. I'm just here working on some homework for last week. We were working with light rays. Obviously, I haven't drawn any of those in yet. Haven't really had too much time to work on this week, but hopefully I'll be able to play a little bit of catching up during this session. Christina, you joined us. Thank you for joining us. Not sure if you're still muted, but yeah, thank you for jumping into the Zoom. Feel free to unmute yourself at any point in time and jump into the conversation. I think we've got a couple other people that should be joining us in a little while. I think Bruno said he was going to be jumping in. I think Ricardo said he might be a little bit late, but should be a pretty good group today. I'm actually really looking forward to tomorrow. I've got some analog paintings I'm going to be working on. So don't be surprised if you see me tomorrow morning during the Jake Meeks Fireside drawing group, working on some analog paintings.
Awesome. Kirsten was wondering, I can't find the Zoom link. Just so everyone knows, if anybody else is trying to find it, if you go to the event link and you don't see where it says artist zoom in, then you want to refresh. You might have to either scroll,
Pull down.
what do you call it? Drag it down?
Yeah, pull down.
Pull down. Okay, so you pull it down. I'm too old for this shit. You pull it down and it should refresh it. Otherwise, you quit out of the app and go back in, and then that link will show up. It's you go to the community, click on the events schedule. This will be the first event. You'll see a link that says artist zoom in. We do it this way not only so that people register for the app, which we appreciate, but also before we did it this way, we sent out the Zoom link through the chat rooms, and then the spammers get a hold of it, and it's no bueno. So yeah. Thanks. We want to see everybody joining in if we can, and we do these every 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoons, so that if you are watching a recording of this or can't zoom in today, you can next week.
Absolutely. So today, on top of working on homework, I figure I'll be going over a couple of little tricks and tips that I've been working on. As Gabe hinted, I'm working with Guy on helping to write a chapter on Procreate, um, and I've definitely come across a few unbelievable just little Procreate hacks that can really make a difference. Um, I mean, everyone's got their own like workflow and their own methodology. So when you're working with that, and maybe you want to try a few tricks, maybe you don't, which is totally cool. Everyone, like I said, has their own preference and their own way to do things because there's so many different roads that all lead to the same place. But there are a few that I've found that are absolutely amazing. For example, say I'm going through here and I'm working with a whole bunch of different layers, right? And this is one that like I utilize all the time. I don't know how many people out there actually utilize this feature. Some might, some might not. Now, only if I could get my camera straight on again. Good enough. Let's see. But there's a way that you can go through and select multiple layers to either move them or group them very, very easily and quickly. And all you would have to do, you already have one layer selected. All you have to do is either using your finger or your pencil or your stylus or whatever drawing implement you choose to use. All you have to do is swipe to the right on the layer, and you'll notice that that gets highlighted in like a little bit of a darker blue. And you can do it with like different layers. If you do it again, it'll deselect, and you can skip around and skip layers. It's a really quick and easy way to go through and just select multiple layers that you might be working on. And from there, you can either group them if you wanted to throw those all into a group, or you can go through and, move those around using your transform tool. That's always very easy as well. So it's just a little, just one of the many little tricks that I'm including in the chapter that I'm helping write with Guy. Um, and there's all kinds of different ones. You may hear about me referencing the Tattoo Smart website quite a bit with Ross Abbott. They have more brush sets, as you can kind of see here, than you can ever imagine, right? And they've got some stamp sets, which are great. It's kind of like a new type of tattoo flash. A lot of people are using Procreate now, and it's nice to have pre-drawn, like set and ready to go ideas and designs. Um, I like to use those more for inspiration, just because I don't really like to, go through and just say, oh, this is what you want here, cool, boom, just like that, cool. I'll print that off and we'll stencil it. I always like to customize things for everyone, because no two people in the world are the same. So why should you get the same tattoo as anyone else? You know? So, but it's great for ideas. They've got some really great tools in here as well. For example, the Essentials brush set from Tattoo Smart is unbelievable. Highly recommend it. You've got brush liners, fine liners, uh, power guides are awesome, especially if you like to do things like Japanese waves, or if you like to, go through and kind of do a double line. If you're going to do a super bold, thick line, you've got parallel lines. You even have a sheet music line, which, come on. I mean, if you're working in a street shop, you're going to have people that want to come in and get some sheet music done eventually. Using that kind of a tool makes the whole process super simple. Dashed lines, dotted lines, neon lines, sketchers, soft brushes, which are nice for paintings, dotted circles and regular circles, light source grid, which is pretty awesome. And I'll kind of show you exactly how I'm going to go through and do something with that in just a second.
We do have two other people that are actually on the Zoom call. Christina and Kirsten, if you want to click your cameras and our mics, we'd love to have you join the Zoom.
Yeah, feel free to join us, guys. But one of the demo things that I really like is they come up with these nice little grid tools so that you can kind of stamp that down. And now you've got an idea of, I don't know how well you can see it, but it comes with like a little dashed line grid. This one's great for doing more circular light source and light rays. The other one that they have is better for doing, it kind of gives you a little bit of a little bit more of a spaced out view, if you will, which obviously based on the brush size that you have, you can always make it smaller, but it all comes back to your central vanishing point. So I'll probably be using something like this to go through and draw the light rays that I'm going to be doing today. But they also have a horizon grid, cylinder mesh tool that can be great if you're drawing anything cylindrical. Different spheres and polygons and 3D shapes. They even have like a wormhole stamp. That's pretty cool, right? Don't know what I would ever really draw using that, but I mean, it comes in handy. Symmetry grids, it's got all types of really great, useful little tools that you can use. All of these are great, as well as color gradients. So if you put that down, it'll give you a quick 5-step gradient so you can see on your value scale exactly where you are as far as how dark it is, what your contrast level's at, and can really help you go through and balance out your amount of value all right there very quickly and very easily.
Awesome. Hey, so Kira, you joined us. Do you want to talk up your recent interview on the Apprenticeship Diaries and talk about the upcoming apprentice event? Or
yeah, I guess this is as good a time as any. Hello, everybody. I am Kirsten Franklin, and I did a interview with Amy Nichols on the Apprenticeship Diaries. It's a 2-part episode. It wasn't planned as a podcast, but we pretty much Zoomed. She's like, "Can I just record this? Because this is great." I was like, "Yeah, I don't mind." And we ended up talking for like 4 hours. So she ended up making it into a little podcast. You can find that on so many sites. Things I can top off now, just Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and you can find her A Nichols, right? Tattoos, is that her name?
yeah, Nichols.
Yes, she's the best. I love chatting with her. We're planning an event in June for all apprentices, pretty much just like a run of the mill, because the most asked question from pre-apprentices is, how do I get an apprenticeship? So this is going to be a fun way of explaining not so much how to get one, but just how you could achieve the goal in your own way, because there's so many different laws and rules in different countries and states. So it's difficult for one person to tell a person how to get something, especially in this industry, because it just all depends. So keep a lookout.
So what kind of question and answers, or what are you expecting as far as the interaction with the apprentices? How's that going to go, and what are you going to offer? Some of the hopefuls.
Well, I hopefully will give more insight on like apprentices, in today's day and age, because it's a lot more different, especially a lot of technology and social media. It's a lot more different now than it was back when our mentors were apprentices. So it'll give a nice, even insight from somebody who just got over the apprenticeship and then somebody who had their apprenticeship, many moons ago. So we're hoping to really just set the bar straight. So whenever somebody asks, "Hey, how do I get an apprenticeship?" we can just point them right into this direction to get them help and started. And we also have a poster contest that's happening. You can find all that rules and regulation stuff here on RIT, on my little profile, and then as well as on Instagram as well, on Frankie Says Things. And yeah, it's going to be really fun.
And is that poster
pretty
contest
awesome.
limited? Is that limited to people that are currently apprentices, people that are looking for an apprenticeship, full-time artists?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we have it set for apprentices and pre-apprentices, people currently in their apprenticeship that may be struggling mentally through their apprenticeship. people that want to get apprenticeships and are struggling, especially nowadays because of COVID. And then for mentors as well, who maybe might get more enlightened to have apprentices and with more open arms than to shoo them away, I guess. So yeah,
Awesome.
it's gonna be fun. I'm very excited.
Awesome. So yeah, so if you're an apprentice, what you said pre-apprentice? I used to call them apprentice wannabes, but I think I might get canceled for that. So apprentice hopefuls is what I've been coming up with.
Yeah.
But people who want to become tattooers someday.
Yeah.
But anyways, what I'm saying is, if you're in that category, you want to follow Kyrie on the Reinventing app. She actually has your best interests at heart and wants to help. I mean, I don't mean to laugh at that because I'm laughing because it's amazing that there aren't there are obviously resources. I know tattooers who do take apprentices, but there is definitely a lack. I think that there will be a lot of tattooers that will also send apprentice hopefuls to this link because, as you were saying, there's a half a dozen to a dozen questions that we just get asked again and again and again and again, and as opposed to getting tired and just coming up with snappy answers, to be able to send people to first a live event, but then a recording where people who are actually answering with love and patience, with enough toughness, because again, it's obviously there is a part of the vetting process where the only people that end up tattooing for successfully are people that don't really have any other path, because there are way other easier ways to do things. So
Yeah.
there's a harshness to a vetting process that needs to be there, and again, nature puts it in. But again, I guess it'll be fun for you to talk about where the responsible line and how to manage that vetting process, as opposed to being whatever, like cleaning the toilet with a toothbrush. Someone's got to do it, and it's going to be the owner if it's not the apprentice. But running around half naked in the street, trying to get attention and stuff. That stuff's obviously, or I've heard obviously way worse stories of apprenticeships.
I only did that once, Gabe.
You did that more than once. There's like 3 videos.
Why you got to blow up my spot like that, Gabe?
Sorry.
Huh?
Well, I mean, I
Really?
thought about it because I saw that there's a clip on the Reinventing YouTube channel where he talks, I forgot who it was. I think it was Chet. He talks about how you can put yourself out there too soon, especially now.
Yes.
And I thought that was such an important point to make, because it is so truthful. It could be, especially with social media, because you want to put out your work like tomorrow. Like, oh my gosh, I'm deciding to be an artist today and I'm going to start an Instagram page tomorrow. And you're kind of just setting yourself up for failure that way. It's just better to stay in the limelight and work on your craft and really build yourself, and then present what you have to the world at the proper time.
Yeah, that's great. I need to talk before I forget, because I forget often. But yes, that Chet Zar interview with Gabe Leonard is fucking amazing. And yeah, to your point, Sailor Jerry and I presume you've both read Sailor Jerry's autobiography. But in it, he talks about how apprentices shouldn't learn in their hometowns. Where he's like, fuck that. Go somewhere far, far away. Fuck up everybody when you're learning a tattoo, and then go where you want to land. And that way you don't have it all walking around. Now, on the other hand, I don't know. It was just one crotchety old fucking timer's opinion on things. Maybe other people might want to actually stay in their community so they could fix up all of the work that they put on their first rounds of people for the first 10 years. But I always thought that was a fun philosophy. It's like, when you're learning and doing stuff, that's not necessarily the best place to land for your, for a good portion of your career. But like I said, on the other hand, he also used to run hippies out of a shop for smelling like weed, and I don't agree with that at all. And I mean, I do agree with that, because legally you shouldn't be smoking weed in shops or whatever. But anyways, I yield the floor.
And I think it's an important point too that I'd want to make, is to have apprentices get comfortable with their own failures, which is difficult to do in today's day and age because of technology. We're so wanting to be so fast, and I can speak as a younger person who grew up literally through the internet. So everything was so fast and quick, and you wanted everything to get done fast and quick, and you wanted to be that person and tattooer fast and quick. And that's just not realistic at all. And that's setting you up for the worst mental struggle of your life. And digging yourself out of that hole when you're in deep is hard. So I just want to stop that from happening as soon as possible from young businesses.
Well, I think a lot of that also comes down to patience,
Yes.
How patient is someone? And it's
Yes.
something that we see very often when dealing with a lot of people that are trying to become full-time professional tattooers right off the gate, and they are not being patient at all. They're like, I want to go and work a convention here. And it's like, how long have you been tattooing? Really? You think you're going to get into that show? Oh, okay. Go ahead and
Yeah.
apply. Go ahead. Make sure to copy me on the response email too.
And what people don't get is that patience is also, I mean, it starts off on the client side. Like, you can't teach your client patience and the patience that it takes, either to secure an appointment or to learn about art, to get a good tattoo, or to actually have the patience to sit through the fucking thing. Tattooers, need to have it, right? And so that's where, when we're doing all these long form, interviews, or, Bob Tyrrell's got like fucking an 11-hour webinar. And people are like, 11 hours? Can't you just get it into an hour and a half? I'm like, yeah, we have the DVD. But the thing is, if you can't watch Bob tattoo and go through his client experience for 11 hours, how the fuck are you going to do it? And patience is such a lesson that tattooing will teach everybody, regardless of whether you want to, right? If you don't have the patience, you could still jump the gun and do shit. You just get shitty tattoos and shitty apprenticeships.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think it also comes down to, acquiring an apprenticeship as well, because, there are a lot of people out there that are very hesitant at first. In fact, I was talking to the owner of the studio I currently work at the other day, and, he's had several apprentices, and, he's gone through and taught multiple people, some of which are absolute legends right now. He knows what he's doing, and he's been doing it for a very long time, and he's got the skill set behind him to be able to go through and say, yes, I can credibly do this. But he's at the point now where he doesn't want to take on an apprentice, because everyone that comes in and asks about one isn't willing to put in the time or the effort to actually acquire it. There's something to be said for having the patience, showing up day in and day out until they eventually put you to work. That takes patience, and it takes patience to go from place to place to place to place to place, just to find somewhere that might consider you, right? Because you're going to be shot down a lot. You have to be patient with it.
The other thing, and I hate to, it's getting tougher and harder to land that apprenticeship. So the flip side to that, Jason, for me is, or the advice that I'd given, it's fun for me to give advice because I'm never going to learn a tattoo. I don't give a fuck. And but I take that back, because when people were learning under my shop, I do care. That's why I do all of these things specifically, so that tattooers can be learning. And oh shit, what was the time? Oh, I lost it. It was the apprentice. Patience. Yeah. What I was saying is, I started hitting up the illustrators master's class years in a row, and there's tattooers that are there, and they're scoping out all the best illustrators that are there who are intrigued with tattoos. And you can tell the illustrators that are like, you make how much money? Oh, I want to do that instead of fucking slogging it out in the fucking illustration trenches. But like, they don't love tattooing. They just see people making a living at it, right? So tattooing will chew them up and spin them right back out, right? But over the course of a couple of years, asking tattooers who are following the illustrators, it's a great way to be in a position where it's like, and as an apprentice wannabe, you should be striving to put yourself in a position where it would be stupid for a tattoo shop to say no. Like your portfolio, you should always be striving for a portfolio that's so slamming, that the tattooers that are at the shop are like, wow, you could probably teach us a trick or two. And, it's getting harder and harder to do as a, 20-year-old, but on the other hand, the last couple of successful apprenticeships that I watched, and have been a little bit of a part of, they came from the illustrator circuit. So they were accomplished illustrators that fucking knew how to draw. They knew how to draw awesome. And, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next generation of tattooers, we see a lot more people that have gone, you don't have to go through art school, obviously, but have dedicated a significant amount of time to their illustration and drawing skills and painting skills, Again, so that when you're laying down that portfolio at the tattoo shop, they're not like, oh, you're pretty good, we could probably teach you. They're like, holy shit, like that is going to look awesome as tattoos. We want to make sure that you have a part in the tattoo world, and it's not trivial. And there is still hope for all the kids. Don't give up hope yet, but like that is the competition for real studios that have it's harder to find a great apprenticeship than it is to find an apprenticeship. It's probably 50% of the apprenticeships that people will land are really only that in name, and not in actual practice. So again, just ultimately, having the most slamming portfolio that you could possibly get while getting, the best tattoos from the, when I say best artists, I mean best all around, not only technically and creative, but also moral and honest and positive, that kind of thing.
Yeah, totally agree. Not every apprenticeship is worth having. So it's definitely something that needs to be factored in. But it takes time. And, we do live in a society right now of instant gratification. No one can debate that, right?
Well,
I mean,
we
at
can,
Amazon.
right? Like people are, I mean, we can't debate that it's happening, but we could fight it and we could debate that we should be catering to it,
True.
and that's what,
Very true.
because I mean, and who knows, I might be fucking one of the guys going down on the Titanic being like, no, long form content. I don't give a fuck if I'm the only person listening. I'm still making it, which but on the other hand, a lot of the stuff that we all do isn't for everybody. Like just inherently tattooing isn't for everybody, right? So it's like even inside of tattooing, the stuff that we do doesn't have to be for every tattooer. And if we're specifically seeking out, people with patience, to your point, there's a half a dozen, lessons that tattooing is going to teach us, either the easy way or the hard way. And when finding people that are either already in alignment, with those positive forces of tattooing, or that we can see that will be there, or the people that want to get in. I mean, ultimately, so my last vision, like when there is a vision of tattooing, which is like, tattooing is the sacred thing that we're doing on people that they remember forever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Only the best illustrators and artists in the world should be practicing it, right? And I mean, one of the beauties of it is that anybody, anywhere can do it, no matter how privileged or underprivileged you could be. A ton of people that get out of the, unfortunate circumstances and out of shitty fucking places where they're growing up because they can just start tattooing their friends with a very limited amount of equipment and stuff. So, and that part is awesome. But, there's also a vision where it's like the tattooers are the, the highest level of artistry that you can get is to be able to put it on somebody's body. And I don't know, like I said, so there's a million ways to look at it, and that's there's a million people that do it, and it's hard to, like, so I guess ultimately finding, like, the shops and the artists and the mentors that are all in alignment, it's very difficult, but it's getting, I guess these tools are starting to connect some of these dots, right? So that the appropriate artists can find the appropriate mentors. And I'm sure we have that apprentice group on the reinventing that we'll be funding people through, and the mentors group. And I'm pretty excited for this event. Again, I guess ultimately, like I said before, I was laughing. I'm like, man, it's so important, and there's so many people that want to know that could really use really good advice, from people that have done it successfully and responsibly. Again, to teach them that patience. We're not, if you don't have the patience, anyways. I'm excited for the event.
The cool thing about it is that I take it into account that because after I did the initial drawing group with Ricardo and Jason, we were on here for a while, and I talked about my apprenticeship very lightly. I had gotten so many messages from people that were like, so how did you get the apprenticeship? How do I get, like, so many? And I was like, well, how do I answer them? Because it's different for everybody. And like, well, you're going to be asked this for the rest of your career, so just get ready for it. Well, and I'm like, well,
Pretty much,
that's not really, like, we should do something about that. Like, they're being brave enough to ask somebody, how do I do this? Then obviously they want to go in the right path. So why should I shorten their steps by, stunting that proper growth process? If that makes sense. So yeah, that's what I thought about this idea, and figured gather everybody in one circle and just be like, listen, this is
yeah. The other part of the whole thing, not the whole thing, but at least of positive growth is just having a mentality of contribution as opposed to, taking, right? Giving instead of taking, really. And, contributing to the energy of the shop as opposed to drawing energy from it, and obviously as you're learning, you have to take some people's hours and time, but you have to contribute enough, at least to make it even, but ultimately, everyone should be contributing so that, you're getting more out of it, right? And so, there's a world of difference between an apprentice that, doesn't really know how to draw, is interested in it, whatnot, compared to like, somebody who's been an illustrator for years and has been getting a large collection of awesome tattoos. But yeah, no, it's fun. This will be great. So, Jason, did you have an apprenticeship? I guess we must have talked about it. But for the people just tuning in, what was your early tattoo career like?
So I got my foot in the door at one of the local studios that I was in college at the time. I was going for studio art. I was trying to work on my art, knowing that, my ultimate end goal was to be a tattooer, right? I went to college with that in mind and kind of had to find my own path to get there. But I went in and, I was taking my studio art classes, and every chance I got, I would pop by one of the local studios. And I never, talked tattoos. I never wanted to really like push the issue too much. But what I kept trying to ask them is, what can I do to improve this? What can I do to improve my art to make it tattooable, right? What are some of the factors that you look at when it comes down to a design that can be tattooed? What mediums are you working in, that really lend itself to being mediums that can translate to tattooing, right? And I would sit there and I would sit on the couch and I would draw and paint, and I had like a little Pentel water pen and like a whole bunch of like little watercolor pencils, and I would shave the wood off from around them so it was like a portable watercolor palette, right? And I would pick up a brush and, like kind of, you just like wet the tip a little bit, get some paint on there, and I would sit on the couch and I would paint every chance I got. And then I would go over to him and I would say, hey, can I get some feedback? Can I get a critique on this? What can I do to improve this? What can I do to make this more tattooable? What can I do to make this a better work of art? And, I was there for, I think, the better part of 3 years, like 2.5 years. In total, after the first, say, 6 to 8 months of me just going there and hanging out, they were like, listen, you're here all the time anyway. Like, you want to help me take out the trash? It's like, all right, walk me through how you want me to do this. Next thing you know, I was in there every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. sharp, which meant be there at 8:45, and I would have to stay there until midnight on Friday to help clean up at the end of the night. And then I would have to show back up at 8:45 in the morning on Saturday to go in there, sweep and mop, take out the trash if there was any left over, wipe everything down, clean everything up. And it started out just basically being a maintenance job and helping some of these artists catch up on their drawings, right? And that kind of rolled over into a formal apprenticeship where it wasn't the best of situations. They were like, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars. It's going to take you this long. You're going to be getting taught by this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. The studio is going to be teaching you, not just one person, which is why it's so expensive. And I was like, all right, like thinking that was pretty standard, nothing crazy about it, right? So I went through and I didn't have the money to pay it all up front at that time. So I was like, listen, let me break this up into payments because, I don't just have that laying around. So they let me do that. And, it was like every 4 to 6 months, I'd give them another payment because I was still working part-time at that time. I was in school full-time, taking art classes and getting a degree in art. I was working part-time 20 hours a week on top of that. And I was apprenticing 30 hours a week on top of that. So I didn't really have too much time for anything else in my life. lo and behold, I think it was 3 or 4 days after I gave them my last payment, they were like, yeah, you're not apprenticing here anymore. Yeah, we decided to take someone else on. And it's like, interesting. Turns out it
What?
was the nephew of one of the studio owners that they decided to teach instead of me after I had given them the last payment.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a money grab, but I learned a lot while I was there, and I made a lot of good industry contacts. One of those contacts referred me out to someone that worked and lived about an hour away, that was willing to go through, sit down, and show me all the stuff that I had never learned. And he was willing to do it for free.
Oh, great.
Awesome. Great. Right. So I would go up there and I would hang out with this guy, and we basically picked up from where I left off. He went over a lot of different things and corrected a lot of things that I was initially taught, which was amazing. At that point in time, I was really into learning about machines, machine tuning, machine building, because if I was going to use the equipment, I wanted to know how it worked, so that way I knew what to look for in a good machine, right? And that's something that I think is being lost on a lot of people today is, what do you want to look for? With all of the machine varieties out there in this day and age, what's going to be the most effective? And I think that ultimately comes down to what style and techniques you prefer using when tattooing, but I digress.
Actually, it'd be kind of fun. We've done a lot of like tattoo machine builder panels. It would be fun to do one that's like just tattooers talking about tattoo machines. We might even put them all behind like anonymous screens or whatever. But like just have the straight up artists talking specifically about it, and almost not having the machine builders there. I mean, it's good to have the machine builders, of course, but it'd be kind of neat.
That'd be a great idea. An anonymous machine panel,
Yeah.
doing reviews.
Yeah.
Because I mean,
Yeah, we'll see.
it's one thing that you start to realize after you've been tattooing for a few years is that you start acquiring quite a few machines, especially if you're still using coils. Like I have literally a box of coil machines, really good machines that I don't even touch anymore. I've got a lot of Aaron Kane machines. I've got a lot of Pulse machines. I've got a lot of, Ernie D machines, which, by the way, I absolutely fell in love with those. But, shortly after I picked those up, I decided to start taking a look at rotaries because I kept getting tattooed by people and that's all they were using. So it was like, okay, well, let me start looking at some of the rotaries. And I found a good one and started talking to some people that were using them on a daily basis and watching them and how they were using them, what their setups were like and how they were running them differently for different things. And this is all stuff that I was talking to this second guy about. And I was like, okay, well, what's the difference between them? Like, why is this better than that? Why is this set up differently? Really getting into the nitty gritty and the science behind it. Because this guy had been building machines for 10 years on like a small little local level, figuring everything out with machines on his own, doing his own field tests, building his own frames. He got into casting frames at one point. That was pretty cool. And he had a whole machine shop in his garage. It was amazing. So he kind of picked up where the other place left off. And, shortly after that, he opened up his own studio. And at that point in time, I started to realize that, hey, this guy isn't going down a very good path. I started to like catch him with some glazed over eyes and, kind of like nodding a little bit when he shouldn't be nodding. Turns out the guy had developed a bit of a drug habit and, so didn't end up staying, with him for quite that often. Went over through meeting him. I met several other people, started hanging out with them some more, gaining some other information on the techniques and tips that they use. And then, ended up working at a place about, a little bit closer to home when I was still getting my feet wet, where one of my mentors, one out of the many, actually gave me a solid recommendation to work there. And I did. And it was a small little local street shop, nothing crazy. But I got to work around other artists and I got to really fine tune, some of my techniques. And then I started moving over into busier studios and working with better, artists and better talented people. And now I am where I am. And, it's one of the premier studios in the suburban Philadelphia area. So,
Nice. And yeah, that's so everyone's got a story.
yeah.
And I'm curious, how did you? I mean, I guess you're gonna. Did you? I mean, you must have talked about that on your podcast. But
Yeah.
do you want to give us the short story?
Of my apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you go to art school or?
Yeah. So pretty much I found the shop I was working at through a friend. She was the piercing apprentice, and she texted me. She said, "Hey, they're looking for a tattoo apprentice." And I didn't. My car at the time, I didn't have a car at the time. I kind of shit the bed like a couple days before. So I scrounged up whatever pieces I had laying around, and I went to CVS and photocopied them, put them in a binder that I found under my bed, and then took the bus all the way to like a couple towns over to go talk with them. And then I got the apprenticeship, and then I was kind of floating around because the person that had initially said that was my mentor wasn't really around much. Like he kind of was like, "Okay, do the thing," and then just would disappear, kind of thing. So I was kind of learning off of all the artists that were there, and that's how I met my brother. And he kind of showed me the ropes a little bit, and then my actual mentor, Jose Pena, came in, and I kind of started befriending him and everything, and we were getting along, and he was showing me some stuff, but he didn't want an apprentice. He made it very clear he didn't want one. But I kept like changing his trash and like asking questions and bugging him, and eventually he was like, "All right, I'll teach you." And then fast forward, and here we are. It's kind of it.
Awesome. So how long did it take for like did you just how much do you have to bug the guy to get or bug the shop to get the first yes for the apprenticeship? Sounded like it happened pretty quick.
No, it happened pretty quickly. I got pretty lucky because usually apprenticeships don't really go that way through word of mouth, but I got very, very lucky.
Right in there.
I just went in there and was like, "This is what I have, and I can do whatever you ask, and I just want to do this thing." And then they're like, "Okay, we'll call you." I left my portfolio there on purpose. That's why I photocopied everything, and then left. And then they called me. And
Sneaky.
they're like, "Yeah, you can start the next day," and that was pretty much it. And then I got like my iPad and started really investing in actually learning how to draw, because I made the unfortunate mistake of getting the apprenticeship before I even knew how to draw. So now they're like, "Okay, do the thing," and I would draw the thing, and they'd be like, "Ugh, this is the thing," and I'm like, "Yeah, this is the thing. This is what I can do." They're like, this isn't even close. You got to draw a little bit. So luckily, I had a mentor that was willing to teach me how to draw and tattoo. So my apprenticeship took three years, 3.5 years to do until I got here. It was
Nice. That's not horrible. 3 years.
No,
it's not like
I know people that have had their apprenticeships for like 7 years, and I'm like, oh my god, Jesus. So
Technically, mine still isn't over
that's
because I'm learning new stuff all the time.
Are we ever not apprentices?
no, I mean there's like apprentices, whatever. If you go through the full cycle, right? Like it's an apprentice, and then I don't know if it's a journeyman or there's a whole hopefully I mean everyone's always learning, but that doesn't mean you're an apprentice, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah.
Unless technically that might not be true. I don't know. I guess I'd have to look up the official language, but
But
yeah, no, yeah.
today's actually the day I got my apprenticeship 4 years ago. So yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah, I guess this is where you mark the anniversary. I guess so.
Oh, I was just about to talk to or ask Ricardo. He joined us and he got up. Oh, he's gonna get his
Oh,
headphones.
man,
No, I don't have
Ricardo joined us.
a.
Man, today was
What-
going so well.
You're so
And-
quiet.
Yeah, no, tell me about it. I don't even like being around myself sometimes, you know what I mean? So I don't blame you guys at all.
I can't blame you on that, bud.
It's good.
And just to think
No.
you're flying out here in a couple of days to spend some time with me.
Oh, that's
I can't
happened
wait.
I don't know.
days. That's right.
Aren't you getting sick all of a sudden?
Yeah, I'm starting to get a little nauseous just thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah, no headphones today. Sorry, Gabe.
You and your magic $3 headphones.
It's crazy,
$3?
right?
Dollar.
No, they came with the phone, so technically they're like what, $200 or something like that. I mean,
I
kind
mean,
of.
if you're spending that much for a phone, the least they can do is give you headphones.
Right. It came with it. Yeah, I don't know. If we're talking about apprenticeships, I mean, I think mine was just I kind of learned on my own, you know. I had moved around so much as a kid. I took some of my artwork into a tattoo shop and wanted to get it tattooed. This dude in Texas dug it, and he asked me if I'd ever thought about doing tattoos, and I hadn't really thought about it at the time, man. But we kind of kept in touch back and forth from Illinois to Texas, and he kind of guided me along the way. And then I was doing a lot of stuff on my own, and then went into a tattoo shop that had a help wanted sign on the window. And I didn't know if they were asking for somebody to watch the desk or somebody to take out the garbage or what, but I just wanted to get my foot in the door. So I went in and like, hey, I'm here for the help wanted sign. What's up? What do I do? Like, well, can you tattoo? I said, yeah. So I brought in my portfolio of stuff that I had. And yeah, they gave me a chance. They brought me in and showed me some of the ropes as far as it goes with being inside of a studio. It was a really high traffic studio too, man. So I asked them if I could just kind of come in for the first 2 or 3 days and just watch and be a part of it, help sign waivers and everything like that. I didn't even know how to make a stencil through a thermofax machine at all. So that was pretty interesting to me too. That blew my mind. I was like, wait, you don't have to trace everything you just drew at all? Damn.
Believe it or not, I still like to hand trace stencils every now and then.
Yeah, we've talked about that, man, and I agree with you. It's there's something to it. It just seems, I don't know, a better stencil, really. It's just handmade, so you know exactly.
I personally prefer it just because you get a little bit of a better feel for the design itself.
Yeah.
You get a feel for really using your hand to pull those individual lines or to create those values, or maybe you're just doing some quick cross hatching just to block in some area. It really gives you more of an organic feel for that design and how your hand is going to have to move at that point in time in order to accomplish that design.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that's what we had talked about. We discussed that as you get married to that image quite a bit more. You're way more connected to it, and there's not a lot of guesswork in it at all. Some of the stencil might not even be there, and you're like, yo, I remember this part, and I'm just gonna keep on going. So yeah,
that's what I was telling my client yesterday. I got started on a nice sized dragon half sleeve with some crashing waves in it, and
awesome.
Some of the parts of the stencil didn't really come out so well because I had to tape 4 pieces together to tattoo this guy's arm, and some of them just didn't line up 100% perfectly, or maybe they moved a little bit as I was laying it on his arm. And I was like, listen, dude, if you see any of these parts that don't really make sense or don't really look too good, don't worry about it. I can draw this stuff with my eyes closed while I'm asleep. Sometimes I can just sit down and just be like, scale.
Yeah.
So I said, we're going to go through and I'm going to draw some of this stuff back on you, so don't even worry about it.
I always think of it like the like when you skip a rock on the top of the water. It hits in each point every time. You know what I mean? Like bing, 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 bing.
So it creates that nice little fine line as it's just skipping so fast.
Yep, you got it.
Love it.
Excuse me. My allergies are kicking my ass.
You're telling me, buddy.
Yeah. You look good.
I know I went away.
You
I
look
went
good.
into work and my boss is like, "Oh," it's like, "Yeah."
I swear I'm fine.
Right, but I yesterday for some reason I had an allergic reaction and my eyes puffed up and I had no idea where it came from. I was just sitting on the couch being a normal person. And then I was like, my eyes feel really pressured. And I went into the bathroom and I was like, whoa, what is happening right now? And
You guys ever feel so stoned you can't see or anything, or you just can't feel your face? Well, right now I just feel everything. It's the exact opposite.
I literally went out to my living room. My roommate's like, what happened? I was like, I don't know.
Like I went in and got in a fight with myself. Yeah, no, man, that's crazy. I guess that's what you get. That's the tattoo god's telling you can't sit down on the couch.
Yeah, it means you're not working hard enough.
I'm not
I mean,
gonna
that's what
say-
I'm hearing you say is that you weren't
Yes.
working hard enough, so that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess you're right, guys. I guess, you know what? Now I have to stay up all night.
Yeah.
Yep.
What, you're
Yeah.
not? You're not doing that on a regular basis?
Yeah.
'Cause
You
I've
should
been
be
up until
sleeping.
3 o'clock in the morning working on stuff for the past 6 nights straight.
Dang,
Still
God.
waking my butt up at 9 a.m.
I'm trying.
Boom.
Listen, I work better when I wake up earlier. If I stay up late, I'm not as productive as if I, wake up early as 5 in the morning.
Well, then why aren't you waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning? I mean, that makes sense, right?
I'm gonna change my bedtime now. Now I'm gonna go to bed at 4, eat my dinner at 3.
4?
Hey,
No. You
that
work
sounds
until
familiar to me.
midnight. You work until midnight. You
And then I
don't
sleep.
stop before midnight.
And you're right. Absolutely right. Put the grind on in.
Duh.
Damn.
Yeah, if you're not grinding and you're not actively working to progress yourself in this industry, you're getting left behind. Because there are people right next to you that are actively working to better themselves and push themselves to a point beyond where you are.
Yeah, but that's always going to be the case, no matter what.
I think
Well,
you're doing
yeah,
good.
but
yeah.
the question is, at what point do you want to get to? Do you want to be a legend? Do you want to be epic? Do you want to hit that top tier? Or do you just want to be like average Joe tattooer? Doing Cherry Creek
Dun,
Flash
dun,
in the
dun,
year
dun,
2021.
dun, dun.
I wanna
Oh
be
man.
Epic.
Cherry Creek Flash in the year 2021 sounds like the most ultimate throwback of all time, dude. I think we should do it. I think we should revive it. Don't
It's a
you?
good
I mean,
thing
I
I
think we
know
should.
you're joking, Ricardo.
No, I
Because
think
that
I
sounds
think
like
we
one of the worst ideas I have ever heard in my life.
Oh, dude. Man, all those little viney. Remember the vines, the
No,
armband vines and
don't,
stuff with the tiny
dude,
little flowers.
you're bringing up things that gave me nightmares.
Ooh, can I
Yeah,
ask
dude.
a question about those?
Yeah.
Okay, so if somebody was like, yo, I want the cleanest armband ever, would you do the rubber band trick or would you freehand it or stencil something?
You just slapped that stencil on him, and where it landed. And like,
You don't do that rubber band trick where they like put the stencil stuff on like a clean rubber band and they put it around the arm and it leaves like a perfect lined impression on their arm.
Huh.
so
I
I've
never-
used that trick before to line up armbands, wristbands, ankle bands, stuff like that. I recently had someone come in for a thigh band that went like almost like a garter belt kind of design that went around their thigh, their mid thigh. And I was thinking to myself, like, I do not own a rubber band big enough to do this.
Right.
what am I going to do? And I actually found that using a piece of masking tape, which is not flexible, it doesn't stretch, but it is a perfect width all the way around, right? To just lay that on and use that to create your straight line works just as well as any rubber band trick.
That's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of that trick before. That's an interesting one. I usually draw as straight of a line as I can across it. Like sit back, eyeball it, keep messing with it until you get it straight.
Oh, so you
But
take the long road.
I do take the long road.
Often you get a better result from doing that though, just because you're understanding and adapting a little bit more to that specific individual's body.
Right.
You know,
And that's
whereas sometimes if you use the rubber band method, you know, maybe it's not going to look perfect, but that's where that rubber band landed and that's where they said they wanted it. So there you go.
I mean, yeah, because I could see using it as a guide because you'd have to move it, right? You wouldn't be able to lay it on straight right away, like especially if it has the Jensen Violet on it or if it has the, you know, thermal print on it.
I usually I'll throw a little bit of tape right in the middle of the stencil. So I won't put any stencil stuff on the area at all. And
Yeah.
what I'll do is I'll take the exact middle point. If I'm
Yeah.
using the rubber band method, what I usually do is put the rubber band on, and then I'll take a skin scribe or like a skin marker or a Sharpie, and I'll actually draw that line all the way around, right? Just to give myself like a guide.
Mhm.
Then I'll take the rubber band off, throw some stencil stuff on it, right? Or I'll take the rubber band off. Then I'll take my design and tape the middle right where I know is going to be the primary place where people are going to look.
Yeah.
Because I know that from that point, I know I need everything to wrap around to meet itself on the other side exactly in that line. But that one individual part is going to be the focal point. That's what everyone's going to see. So that I know for a fact needs to be spot on.
Right.
Right. From
Yeah.
there, I'll go through and I'll almost like the large stencil trick in the RIT Canon, where you put two pieces of tape, peel back one side, stencil goo, lay that part down, peel up the tape, stencil goo, and then lay the other part down.
Yeah.
Right. So kind of doing that, only it's usually a much thinner area.
Yeah.
I have to dip out. I got a client coming in an hour, so I gotta go prepare for this mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Do it.
But
You got
nice
it.
everybody. I'll keep everybody updated, and I'll see you guys later.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Have fun.
Deuces.
And Jason, you have control, right? So you can click all the buttons to do all the things.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So I'll be here tuning in the background, but if you lose me at any given time, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm driving, man. I'm
see
steering
you
right
again.
now, so we're good. We're on cruise control.
Take the wheel. Take that wheelie wheel.
That's what I'm saying. But yeah, man, it's gonna be fun to have you in town, bud.
Yeah, dude, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting out of town. I'm looking forward to hanging and drawing and stuff like that, working on that design more. Have we talked about that at all yet? Like what we're doing?
I mean,
Like
we already have the idea down. It's just a matter of like finalizing the concept and then getting the final line drawing together. You know,
Yeah,
even if we
I
don't
think-
have like a gradient map or anything like that we can use, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as the outlines get hammered in and like the you know, we get we get the design basically roughed in for certain areas.
Right.
That'll be pretty solid. You know, that's what I'm really hoping to accomplish. I'm gonna predict that they'll probably sit for somewhere around 6 hours. I usually
Wow,
find
okay.
that more than that really tends to push it with people unless they really have a good amount of like mental discipline.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, however long you sit, it's like I've told you before, like I'm just looking forward to being out there with you, watching you work, being in your space,
Well, and likewise,
picking
buddy.
your brain about all of it. It's gonna be great, man. I haven't done anything like this, for a long, long time. So it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. Working on that back piece with you. And just the
Oh, it's
fact
gonna
that
be a
we're
blast, dude.
yeah. And I guess we'll figure out who starts at the top, who starts at the bottom, or if we both start from the bottom and work our way up and meet in the middle. That'd be
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Well, I mean, you're right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it would make sense depending on what side we take.
Yeah.
Obviously we can't work like top and bottom in, but
Right.
depending on who gets what side and what side you want to set up on.
Yep.
Also I have one of the Tat Soul chairs that spins. So, I mean, we can always literally spin him around like a Disney ride.
Yeah.
So if there's an area that I know I want you to do, that's all you. And if we got to stop, take a step back, spin him around, and then continue working, then that's easily done.
Rock and roll.
I'm going to set us up on some mobile workstations, some Mayo trays, so that way we can go through and kind of move around if necessary.
Yeah,
We're both
I'm really
working
used to that.
wirelessly, so that's going to be a benefit.
Yep. That's exactly what I was going to suggest, is that like we're both working wirelessly, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem at all, man.
Yeah. And I'll have, so you're using the Flux right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I have a couple of extra batteries. I don't know if you only have the one battery or what.
I have two batteries in.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, even if you didn't have to bring both of them, I can always just make sure both are fully charged for, whenever we get ready to rock. But I mean, feel free to bring yours as well. I mean, it couldn't hurt. I also have some of the critical battery packs, which I really, really like. And I found out that if you have the EXO, the FK Irons EXO, if you twist the top off of that, the RCA top, and you use that wirelessly, that RCA connecting top fits perfectly on the back of a Flux.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
They
that's
are
awesome.
literally interchangeable machines. The
That's
grips
really
will
cool.
switch, the batteries will switch, the RCA connector that comes with the EXO can fit on the Flux. They take the same voltage, they've got the same motor, they've got a little bit of a different housing, but it's almost identical.
Awesome.
So it's pretty awesome, man. One of the guys that I work with has both the Flux and the EXO.
Yeah.
And he was playing around with them the one day and he's like, dude, check it out, man. I can put the EXO grip on my Flux. And I'm like,
nice.
So you have another EXO is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's
that's
like,
really
no.
cool.
The EXO I got's 3.2. It's not 4.0. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm glad that they did that. You know what I mean? Like that makes it, the interchangeable part of it makes it really great to have that extra machine, really. You know what I mean? To have that other, way of working with another machine, dude. It's great. And if you can interchange them, that's even better. It's awesome.
Yeah, I will say that for smaller tattoos, I still prefer my Zion.
Yeah.
Because I have two of those as well.
Yeah.
Each one's set up with a different cam size. So if I need a little bit more of an impact, I have a little bit more of an impact.
Yeah, for like lining or such, or solid blacks or something.
Well, I mean, if I'm going to be pushing a 23 or a 25 or a 27 mag or a 35 mag, I'm going to go with the 3.7 cam over the 3.2, just because it's going to be easier in the long run. And if you're pushing a mag that big, you kind of need just a hair bit more force, or you need to be able to adjust your technique on the fly, right?
Yeah.
Because
right.
I'm a massive advocate of technique is everything, right?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
I've used the Cheyenne Soul Nova, and I've pushed a 35 mag with it doing solid saturated color before.
Right.
I've pushed a 14 liner with it before.
Okay.
I've used an Injecta set up with a 3.2 cam, and I can push a loose 14 round liner with one of those if I use the right technique. you know, I've used a lot of different machines, and I find that it's not necessarily the stroke of the cam, it's not
Yep.
necessarily the power of the motor or the voltage you run it at. It's the technique that you're using that will ultimately determine whether or not you can get that machine to do what you want it to do.
I agree with you completely, man. I think I picked that up whenever I was using coil machines constantly. You know what I mean? Because man, no matter what you did, no matter how much you tuned or tweaked that thing, one tattoo is running exactly the way you want it to, dude, and then the next one right afterwards, it's all off, and then you have to try to tune it again, or you just like learn how to like work with the way that it's kind of hitting at that moment. You know what I mean? So I agree with you completely. Whereas I could see the technical aspects of it being, you know, measured as far as like the stroke length and like, you know, the depths and stuff like that too, dude. I get that there's some very technical science to that, but I agree with you where it's more of a feel after a while, and it's more of like a technique based kind of thing for sure.
And that's part of the reason why I moved away from using my coils. Which, don't get me wrong, I love my coils. I do. I love coil machines. I think they are incredible. I love them. I love collecting them. I love looking at them. I love running them, and I love doing tattoos with them occasionally. But I moved away from using them on a day-to-day basis simply because there were too many variables. I wanted to sit back and focus on my art and doing better tattoos and creating better artwork. And I could not do that unless I could control those variables to focus on the quality of work that I was doing, right? I needed something that was 100% consistent, because
Yeah.
if I remove that variable, the maybe it's the rubber band tension, maybe it's the bend on the needle bar, maybe it's the rear spring that's going, maybe it's, you know, the amperage that's fluctuating, maybe it's the this or the that, or maybe it's the angle at which I'm holding it, or maybe the front spring's starting to wear a hole in it, or maybe, you know, maybe it's something, right? Maybe it's the friction from the tip of the tube. Once I start removing a lot of those variables and I get back to, this is my consistent variable, this is the only thing that I have to change, because I know this machine is going to run the same way every time,
Right.
without question.
Yeah.
You know, if I can remove all of those variables from tattoo to tattoo, and that's something I no longer have to think about, that then allows me to turn around and focus back on, is this line perfectly solid, perfectly saturated?
Yeah.
Is this gray fade going from solid black doing a full fade out? Is this color being perfectly blended with the colors directly adjacent to it? You know,
Yeah.
is that what I'm achieving? Because I no longer have to worry about, why is my machine starting to slow down a little bit? Why does it feel like it's starting to lose power? Is it what's going on here? Because something is not right. You know,
Yeah.
maybe
Yep.
you've had the same machine with the same coils for years, and you start to notice that the machine it's starting to get a little bit sticky. It doesn't have the same type of magnetic pull after 3 or 4 hours. You know, you shouldn't have to stop your tattoo, switch coil machines, just because you notice this one's starting to slow down a little bit more and it doesn't have the same kind of punch that it did when you first stopped, only because you've been using it for 3 to 4 hours. You shouldn't have to do that. You know?
Yeah, I agree with you. And we go back to that quite a bit, don't we? We talk about that a lot, you and I, about like what it takes to be able to do the tattoo with as little extra stresses as possible, without any outside stress. You know what I mean? That way you can just sit down and focus on what you need to focus on. And I couldn't agree with
Right.
you more. And that was
And
one of the
it's
things that always added that extra amount of stress to it. Was like, man, my machine just isn't running right. What's going on? And you start questioning a lot of things at that moment, man. You know what I mean? Start questioning a lot of
absolutely.
things. And
And it's something I've started to pick up on from watching different artists
yeah.
over an extended period of time, is
Mhm.
you tend to find artists out there. And I mean, lots and lots and lots of really, really talented tattooers, guys that just know their fundamentals and can lay down a solid line without a question. Guys that can blend color and, you know, do super soft black and gray, like fine line stuff like butter.
Yeah.
They're using the exact same machine every single
Yep.
time over a period of time.
Yep.
One machine, maybe two at the most, but they're
Yep.
using one machine that they know is going to do that job, which allows them to not have to think about that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that was always the thing for me too, man. Is like I agree with you. I like having machines. I like having them around and stuff like that. And it's always awesome, especially if you know the person that builds the machine to like support them and everything like that. Especially if they're great machines, you can use them too. You know what I mean? But I agree with you whenever you say that using almost just one machine, almost like daily, because you know no matter what, it's going to work, dude. You know.
Yep.
So I've always wondered about that. Like, is having multiple machines a necessity, or is it more of like just a leisure kind of thing? Where I think it can be both. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not questioning the fact on why somebody would do it at all. But I'm just saying, like, for me, I agree. Wherever I find a good machine, and I have messed with my technique a little bit because it is a different machine versus what I was using before. Like when I went from coils to rotaries, you know, the first thing I did was jump into the Symbios from Icon, you know what I mean? And that was pretty different. I mean, I wasn't used to that no give approach at all, you know what I mean? So I had to like definitely watch my application and the amount of time you spend in an area with the rotary versus a coil machine, you know what I mean? And like the amount of layering and saturation that comes into play. But that's the one thing I have noticed. I've even changed up my technique with my movement versus circles of a mag or a liner, and I've changed it up into like an entirely different angled kind of work now. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's crazy. But to go back to it, like I said, the one machine, man, you find one that works solid and you just kind of stick with it. I agree with you.
Well, I mean, it goes back to the old adage: if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
if you've got someone that you has volunteered their skin to be a guinea pig, that will say, hey, listen, I'm not going anywhere. Like, you are the only person I am ever getting tattooed by for the rest of my life. If you want to play around on me and try some new stuff, great. You know, go for it. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you now have the opportunity to go through and test some things out, right?
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine that I've known since middle school. You know, I think we were like 12 or 13 years old when we first met. You know,
Nice.
like,
yeah.
really solid dude, and he's not going anywhere. I know that. And I've
Yeah.
called him up before and said, yo, dude, listen, I got a new machine in. I need someone that's willing to be patient, that'll let me, you know, work on them a little bit, that I know isn't going to be scared if like I have to stop to tweak something or change something, or, you know, do this or do that, or
Yeah.
maybe it's just not working right. They're not going to be scared if that happens, and they're going to be totally understanding of it. So if there's
Right.
something you want to get done, you know, small, quick little palm-sized jammer or something, let me know. And
Yeah.
it's worked out great, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, not everyone has that ability though. And for those people that are, you know, a little bit higher up there in the echelon, that have that kind of expectation already for just the type and quality of work that they
Yeah.
do, you know, it doesn't really lend itself to really having that ability to experiment hardly at all.
Right. Right.
So that's where, you know, finding like good, solid, you know, friends, I guess, for lack of a better term, good, solid people that will let you experiment a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
those can be absolute game changers.
Absolutely.
You know, because you
Absolutely, man.
never, for someone that's paying top dollar for a really, really nice piece, you shouldn't be experimenting on them, right?
No, definitely not.
Because, you know, they're there for a specific quality, for a specific product, and that's what they are expecting. They're not expecting you to sit down and be like, oh, well, I tried this on you and it didn't quite work quite so well.
Right.
So, oh, well, that's why this didn't turn out, you know, quite as good as a lot of the other stuff I've done. Oh yeah, I was trying this out, I was trying that out, you know.
Yeah.
Come on back in. And it's like, well, why were you trying stuff? I came to you for a specific product.
Right.
I didn't come to you for an experiment. So I'm
Yes.
always kind of conscious of that.
It's a good point, man. It's a really good point. It's something that I brought up to people that I've helped learn how to tattoo before too. Is like, you're gonna want to learn. You're gonna want to tattoo as much as possible. So you're gonna have to find those friends that are willing to like just dedicate some skin to you, and some trial and error kind of things. You're right, and it's part of the process. It's like you kind of earn you kind of appease the gods with that sacrifice. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
something we've also talked about quite frequently is how can we make the tattoo gods happy?
Yeah, exactly, dude. Yep.
I know that they like whiskey. So I usually, I'll pour out a bottle of whiskey to them and dedicate that to them. But sacrifices of skin, man, it's a big thing.
Yep. And then the other thing to take into consideration with that too is like, the time and effort that you have to put into it possibly without being paid even, you know what I mean? Like, I think what I was doing at first with a lot of my friends is like, man, just buy me some lunch, dude. You know what I mean? Like, just buy me some lunch and you don't have to worry about paying me. I mean, I'm sitting here practicing on you anyway, dude. Like, you buy me some lunch, we're both winning. Like, you're getting a tattoo. I'm learning some experience. And then like, I know you're not paying me, but at least I ate today. You know what I mean? Like, it's a win-win, dude. So.
I've got some stories for you that I'll tell you when you get here, man.
I cannot wait.
I've got some stories, just funny, hysterical stories about, working on friends and close friends and friends of friends and, family members, friends and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or, friends of family members and everything. And I'm not going to get into the details right now, but let's just say this. At one point in time, I used to drink Monster energy drinks all the time, like 2 or 3 of them a day. Like it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was one point in time where I was tattooing someone and they knew I love cereal, still love cereal, by the way. Have a bowl every morning. And they paid me in boxes of cereal and Monster energy drinks.
There you go.
And I was like, I'm set.
Yeah.
Set. This is great.
That's all I need. Yeah, man.
I'm like, my diet for the next week is officially taken care of.
Yeah. And it boils down to that, man. Like, you got to get started somewhere. You know what I mean? You have to be reasonable with yourself. You have to be realistic with yourself, and it benefits everybody. Like, you're learning. They're being, most of the time, dude, like all the friends that I've tattooed way back in the day, they love showing off those tattoos. They love it every chance they get. Like, remember this one? I'm like, yes, put it away.
Yes,
please.
I remember that one. No need to show that to anyone.
Exactly, dude. But you get them back in later on, you know what I mean, and you make it up to them, dude. Everybody's
absolutely
happy. You make it up to them.
Or it's like, hey, listen, I need to practice some cover-up stuff. How about you come on in and let me let me cover that up for you?
Perfect, dude. You got it. That's it. Look at that. Just kind of coming up with all kinds of winning solutions all day. Boom, boom. What do you got next?
Well, I can't really take credit for that idea, right?
Okay.
That idea that I just pitched out where it's like, hey, I got to practice some of this cover-up stuff. Like, but you come in. That's actually something that I got from a DVD that I watched many, many years ago. Some of you that are tattooers out there may have heard it, may have watched it, who knows? But it's The Whole Enchilada by Brandon Bond. There is absolute gold in those videos. Absolute gold. Because he talks about just getting started and what he did to practice when he was just getting started, and how at the time kanji was in, right? The tiny little like Asian characters, and everyone was getting them. And it's like, cool, well, I need to practice. So how about you come over and you let me do some kanji on you, man? And then, you hit them up a few years later and you realize that kanji no longer looks very good. And it's like, well, I got to practice some cover-up stuff. So why don't you come over and let me cover up that kanji? Next thing you know, they've got a full sleeve that's cover-up, and you've gotten to practice everything that you needed to practice to really take yourself to that next level. So, it's little tidbits like that are absolutely priceless in value.
Oh yeah, things that you don't necessarily think about, like because you haven't approached them yet, or you're ready to, anyways.
Yeah, and it's just little stuff like that that can make a world of difference in a tattooer's career, you know? That one tiny little piece of advice can completely change their entire perspective on everything.
Yeah.
Every now and then it happens, and every now and then you see it, and every now and then you see an artist go through a total and complete renaissance, right? Where they will go through and like everything that they're doing gets changed.
Yep.
You know,
I love that.
Maybe it was a pigment that they got turned on to. Maybe it was a machine that they got turned on to. Maybe it was just, you know, it could be anything down to like a different type of soap that they're using. You know, you see it happen every now and then. And when it happens, you're like, all right, what happened?
Just to hop in here a little bit. I've watched this happen. I mean, it's practically my job. And it's often people and ideas, right? You know, there's definitely tools and stuff that help, of course, so you can see the shift, but often it'll be a critique, a seminar, or a series of seminars, you know, and it's usually often it's a couple little changes here and there that you see, but then every once in a while, and again with Guy, you see it a lot. All of a sudden, you know, after a critique or two or three, all of a sudden, bam, you know, the contrast is dialed in, the textures are there, and the lighting's right. And you know, for me, it's amazing because I used to be so dismissive, for better or worse. And then, you know, I'd see somebody 5 years later, and they're doing some pretty cool shit, and 10 years later, doing really cool shit. Like, oh my god, I remember the first time I saw your work. You know, it was definitely not where it could be, and it's fun. You know, it's basically up to the people to do the work. You know, every day. You know, like you guys are, and and the other people are, you know, they're doing it every week, every couple days, you know, they're doing exercises, and it's kind of like art gym, right? I guess that's, you know, anyways.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Gabe. I mean, it's exciting too, like to participate, to be involved with that, to see it happen. You know what I mean? Like you can literally watch the progression, dude. It's motivating and inspiring for sure. It's like contagious, even, you know.
It completely is, and as I watched through the different shows, you know, you could see it. I could see it right before, you know, my very eyes, right? Because I'll see somebody say something on one of these, and then talk about it a week or two or three later when it clicks in another group or seminar, art jam, and then all of a sudden there's another 20 people that are getting it, and not, you know, or seeing in that perspective, not making those mistakes, whatever it might be. It's definitely, you know, it is pretty amazing, and it's one of those things that, you know, it also lands on people at different times, different places, right? So obviously we've all been told stuff, you know, once a year for 20 years. And then finally after 20 years, like, oh, that's what you meant all that time. I'm glad you had patience to keep telling me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes that moment. It takes that moment, that universal moment for it to just all sync up, man. And it's incredible how that happens. And it can take years sometimes, but I have seen it happen on here for sure. I know for myself even, man, it's been awesome to be able to open up and like be able to be open to taking that constructive criticism and then like being able to adapt it to. There's a couple different tools that you end up kind of putting into effect there too, you know, like being able to like interpret it and understand it, and then being able to apply it can be viewed as the same thing. But I think that there's two different things there that are happening for sure. One of them is stepping, and one of them is stepping outside of yourself and being able to like listen to the universe and like have that moment resonate with you, you know.
Well, I was listening to something the other day. I'm a huge fan of, you know, YouTube motivational videos and stuff like that. Especially ones that deal with like inspirational quotes and things of that nature. Call me a dork, call me a nerd, whatever. It's just something I enjoy watching. Or listening to, actually, because I don't really watch them, but I do listen to them. And it's something that, you know, I heard on one of them the other day, and it was like, what do you call that area that lies outside of your comfort zone?
Yeah.
You know, you call that the area of growth. right?
Yep.
Because unless you get outside of your comfort zone, you won't ever grow. You won't
Right.
ever better yourself. You won't ever advance to that next level or evolve as a human being. You have to get outside of your comfort zone. And if you don't, and if you stay where you're comfortable, then you know exactly what to expect. And that
Yep.
is a whole bunch more of the exact same thing.
The exact same thing, dude. You're never gonna change. Your tattoos will never look any different. You know what I mean? You as a person won't grow.
So are you condemning us all to a life of discomfort?
Actually, I'm saying
to,
that with discomfort comes betterment.
No, I know. And if you're going to continuously try to grow and be your best self, that means you are literally, oh, I can't believe I said literally because I don't know where it's written down, but it is actually means that you are going to be uncomfortable for the rest of your life. If you're going to do your best work, on your deathbed before you go, that means you're always going to be uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
And you have to keep a good
And
attitude about
I
it.
am never comfortable with
Yeah.
any of the work that I do, ever.
Oh, you and me both, man. You and me
That's
both.
the curse of being an artist.
Yeah. To the point of the critiques and whatnot, that does come, straight from Guy too. He's amazing at taking people's feedback and adapting to it, and not being like, do you know who I am? I'm fucking Guy H. He's like, listens to the feedback and, doesn't, necessarily automatically do everything, obviously, but he does adapt accordingly. And it's pretty cool. It's, to watch, multiple times. And hey, Christina. Oh, your mic is off.
Got it.
Hey, welcome.
Hello.
Hi. Sorry,
What's
I was
up?
just getting ready for work.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Where are you beaming in from today?
Vancouver, Canada.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
How's it going up there?
it's good. We're still everything's open, but we have a bunch of travel restrictions, so no one's able to really go anywhere.
Right on.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to make it up to Canada for better part of a year now and still
Yeah.
can't make it up there. So
Hey, do you guys know her work?
I don't think so.
I believe so.
Oh, look at
I'm
the
pretty
screen.
sure
I'm
I
about to
follow you on
share it.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Look at that. That color palette's amazing.
good. Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, man. That's great.
I quit. I'm out.
Oh,
I got nothing. Nope. I'm out.
Yeah. I'll see you guys later. I'm gonna go drive off a short,
Oh,
very short
shit.
here.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna take all of my art supplies and throw them out because I'm not. Yeah, I can't hold a candle to that. I know that. That
That's
is
killer, man.
incredible.
Thank you.
Hey, if people are watching, this is the sale is still going on right now as we speak.
Oh
For the
yeah, I
pre-sale.
guess so. eh?
Artist Relief Project.
Yeah, that
I
was
mean-
we did that when we were all shut down still. Yeah, I forgot about that. I try not to go on Instagram too much these
Oh,
days.
this is 2020.
Likewise.
Yeah.
This
Way to
is
pay
last
attention,
year. Holy
Gabe.
shit. Okay.
No, it's okay. I haven't really been on there very much.
Likewise, man.
Yeah, I just trying to avoid it.
Yeah, fuck Instagram. No, let's go to website here and check it out.
I like the rabbit.
I'm
Oh,
putting you
thanks.
down on my list of places to go to
Oh,
when
yeah,
I
it's killer.
do get the chance to get back up to Canada.
Yeah, it's pretty here. There's lots of mountains, lots of good artists. Oh man,
Yeah,
it's so
I like-
weird. It's weird looking at this stuff because I haven't really looked on there for a while.
I like your use of color, line weight,
Oh, thank you.
contour
What
lines.
about what year are all these tattoos, you think?
Well, I guess those ones were a few years ago.
Yeah.
Because I haven't really updated the website in too long, other than COVID stuff.
Yeah. So is there a spot somewhere where you do keep up, or you're probably busy enough that it doesn't really make a difference, I imagine?
Well, I mean, yeah, I right now I'm not really taking anybody new, but I'm also not taking anybody that's traveling. So I'm just sort of
Right.
working on, you know, like my ongoing clients and not really like just kind of waiting.
Sure. That's
Now, let's
crazy.
say I were to find a way to sneak across the border.
I
Right?
know. I wish
If I were
could
to just
sneak out
like
of the
take a
border.
month and hike there to you.
I know, that would be a great hike.
And you may see me along the side of the road, walking stick, backpack in hand, you know, just being like, I'm finally made it. I'm here to get tattooed. Can you get me in today?
You gotta watch out for like the bears and the cougars.
Yeah, that's not, no.
No.
Me and bears don't get along.
Yeah.
Run into a couple of them. We just never, we were never on the same wavelength.
Oh
Sure
man, they're
jive.
scary.
Yeah. Well, yeah, some of the ones I've seen have been terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah. I lived
Yeah,
in
no.
I lived in Anchorage for a couple of years when I was growing up and
Oh,
used to go
cool.
camping all the time. So I'm pretty familiar with some of the northern wildlife.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. It's like everywhere.
Yeah. It's like Survivor, only real life.
Yeah, exactly. And you got a few, you know, houses in the city, and then there's bears everywhere, and you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been listening to you guys creepily in the background while I was getting ready because I got to go to work soon. But I was wondering, have you guys heard of or tried the Numa machines?
The new Numa 4s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually the next purchase I'm making.
Oh
and
man,
I'm just
I got
debating
one.
on, I'm
It's
debating on
amazing.
what size like of a grip that I want to get, and then
Yeah.
what material as well, because they're so versatile. But
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
terrified that if I go with one of the brass grips, which is what I usually prefer, just because of their hygienic qualities, they're
Yeah.
self-sterilizing, you know, so I always try to go in that direction. But I was looking at the weight on some of them.
I know. They're like they're as heavy as a coil, but they are and they kind of sound like a coil. I think is it the one that you're talking about that has that's a bit heavier, and what's the material on that? That's a
Brass.
yeah. So the one
Yeah,
I
the
have
brass
is
makes sense.
yeah,
Go
the
ahead.
thick brass one, and it's heavy and it's awesome and it sounds a bit like a coil. But these are machines. They can do anything.
That's what I keep hearing. Everyone I know that I've talked to about these Numas, they're like, dude, it's a game changer. Like you won't
yeah.
ever bother to use another machine ever again.
No, I know. They're awesome. They're amazing.
How long
Highly
have you been using
recommend
them?
I think so. John got me turned on to these about because sorry, I forget the guy that makes them.
Person Hill.
So probably about a year and a half or a year or so, and I started with like the heavier kind of thinner one, and then just recently I ordered the large one, and it's just incredible.
Nice.
And you're using the aluminum grip or the brass grip?
So I guess it would be the heavier one. So I guess it's the aluminum.
Okay.
Now, did you see a difference with your line work on that? Because I know switching from coils to rotaries for me, like I can line with them, but I noticed there's a big difference between how I line with the rotary versus, or especially a pin rotary versus the old coil stuff. You know what I mean? Did you notice a big
found that-
difference?
Well, to be honest, like you know, I hadn't used a coil in a long time. I mean, I think the last time I used a coil was like 8 or 9 years ago, but I would say that it's probably a very similar transition. Like if you were going to transition from a coil, or that you prefer, you know, the weight and the sound and the sort of the feeling of a coil, going over to one of these guys, the heavier one, would definitely be very similar in some ways. But like you guys were saying earlier, you know, it's nice to not have to worry about anything as you're going, like something is breaking down or, you know, it's slowing down. These are just, you know, I mean, the rotaries are they just go.
Yeah, it just pushes. It just goes no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that because I've been looking into buying another machine. I've been using the Flux. I love it, but definitely want to check some more stuff out. And just for like counterbalance and stuff like that, and like the drive and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just curiosity more than anything else. So
And are you changing out the cams much, or did you figure out which one works to your liking? Or
Which are you talking to me?
yeah, like so because in the Numas, he's got like 3 or 4 different cams to go into it to change the way that it's working, eh?
Yeah, pull up the website again because I can sort of show. I'm not at work right now, about to go, but I can see which one.
what time is
That
it?
you're
Where you're
talking
at?
I just joined.
It's 11:47 a.m.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Hi, Christina.
Oh, Guy,
hey, Guy.
hi.
What's
How
up,
goes?
guys?
Oh, I'm out on a family camping outing, and they're all doing yoga, and I could have joined the yoga, but I did this instead. How's it going?
Oh,
There
say
you
hi
go.
to everybody.
I'll do that. Yeah. I've actually got a little tattoo homework, but my only device is tied up with this, so I'm gonna have to do my first draft without reference.
Oh,
So
awesome.
nothing exciting to look at yet. It's just a blank piece of paper. But yeah, I've got Don McDonald is coming into town in a couple of weeks, and we're starting 2 back pieces. And somebody
Oh.
wants a lion head with lots of bio, so we got to come up with something cool.
Awesome.
Great. Yeah, sounds
John
interesting.
would say hi if he was here, but he just left for work.
Right on. What's he got going on today?
I think he's doing a snake today.
Nice.
Yeah.
That always suits John.
Yeah. He loves snakes.
Yeah, no, I, on the other hand, have not done a lot of lions.
Oh,
So it's good. Yeah, I like the challenge.
Yeah.
Going to relatively unknown territory. And I'm gonna just go ahead and knock out a few really rough thumbnails. So yeah, if you ever wanted to join us for any of our Monday night things, that would be awesome.
yeah.
They're
That would
they're a
I-
little
the
bit
only
more
thing
structured.
The only thing is that if I'm gonna do it on here, because I'm a little shy, that's why I haven't been on, but if I do it on here, then it would probably have to be some sort of like hand drawing, I think, because I'd be more comfortable with that. I have a few that are on the go that I could probably pull out and start working on.
Yeah, it could be anything. It could literally be anything. The idea that we normally have is we'll have some sort of thing that we're focusing on, like, a type of lighting or a type of atmospheric effect or a type of compositional thing or whatever, like we had, a month and a half of just lighting and a month and a half of depth tricks and, that kind of thing. So it could be a color thing. We had a month and a half of colors, just different color, whatever, what was that split complementary, those kinds of things. So it could be really anything. It could be hair. It could be, just say anything that you could then just encourage people to kind of find their own composition, but to have a couple things in mind, right? So usually what I'll do is I'll give people a variety of references that they can use or they can find their own, right? And imagine a hypothetical client, and then we'll do 4 quick thumbnails, and usually the 4th one will be kind of bringing together things that we like about the first 3, and I'll be kind of tight about timing on those first. We'll try to keep the thumbnail stage to 15-20 minutes, but it's a good way to loosen up, and that way everybody has a composition that's theirs. It's in their own hand. We'll have references, but we don't really trace. I encourage people to try to just draw it, and then, man, you wouldn't believe the drawings people are turning in. Like, they'll spend the whole week on them, which, I usually have the quickest one because here I am juggling a bunch of things and 10-year-old kid and all that. But there's some incredible drawings people have been turning in. And it's just neat to see them sort of run with the intention behind the exercise, and find their own composition and their own voice.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. I see when you guys do it, and it's always like, oh man, I just want to do that. So I probably have a tiny bit of time I can dedicate to that. I got ideas percolating.
The trick is to come up with whatever would be like the biggest, like, no-brainer that you can think of. Like,
Yeah.
what is the thing that is the most automatic to you, that you struggle with the least, you know? And that's, you know, obviously the thing you're going to have the most to share about.
Okay.
And so often what we'll do is we'll have the first, like, the thumbnailing stage. We'll just have, let's say, you leading and maybe me asking questions, and then we would have the rest of the group join when we're, you know, getting into our fourth thumbnail and kind of transitioning into doing the full size drawing. And then we'll start really looking at everybody's drawings and getting feedback. And I'll usually try to get feedback on mine because it's seldom great. You know, often there's much better ones than mine.
It's crazy.
And, you know,
I don't know if I would go that far.
Yeah, I don't
think
believe
far
that.
either, man.
Yeah, come on.
I do really good quick thumbnails, but yeah, I also
You do.
often will go with the most obvious kind of solutions, you know. And I feel like as the instructor, I almost have to do that. So it's kind of neat to see the other participants just kind of running with their ideas, the more out there kind of things. Like, you know, often they'll try to push to the limit what we could get away with.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Cool. I think I'll
So-
do. Yeah, I think that would be good. I think if I was going to do it, I can see probably doing something with hands maybe, and then a bunch of lines or something.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you would be a great person to lead something about contour lines. I mean, it doesn't have to be about contour lines, but
Yeah.
you know, you use them really effectively. I really like how you bring
think-
character and depth into your work.
That's something I would definitely be comfortable with. I could probably do that.
Okay,
Very cool.
well, maybe we start with that. And it doesn't have to be on a Monday night, but Monday night is that's the subscriber only group. So like,
Okay.
if you're shy, that would be, you know, a little bit,
Yeah.
you know,
I
less
think that's
pressure.
the best for me. Yeah.
I feel you on that one, Christina. I really do.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the same boat, and it's taken a lot for me to just kind of like, here I am. I'm gonna
Yeah.
do this. Let's do it. Let's just
It's
jump in there.
hard. It's hard
can
because
be.
I mean you're already in front of your clients every day, and that's hard enough sometimes.
Yeah.
But then when you're, you know, like, and especially now, but like, you know, when you're going in front of a camera, this is like a whole other world, you know. We're usually in the background.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole thing is be prepared in terms of just make sure it's a subject that you're really on top of. And in that case, pretty much anything you have to say is going to be of some value, you know.
Okay.
It's only when you're unprepared. Can I tell you one of my most embarrassing moments ever? You
Yes,
know all about
please.
it because you were there. It's like you were in a studio, and I was like, oh. And today we've got John Clue with us and Christina. I know she has the last name. That was
It's pretty much
yeah.
the same as the first name, so it's okay.
right, but I didn't know that, and so
Oh, I
I
didn't even
probably
notice.
turned purple. Yeah. The moral of the story: be prepared.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Okay. Yeah.
So I am drawing lions. Well, this is my first lion. I know, and this lighting doesn't look like anything. I don't even know if I can show my drawings. I'm used to being on a digital platform, and but I really like it when I'm forced to whip out the old pencils again. But I just don't know if I can get Zoom to show you guys what I'm doing. No, probably not.
Yeah, right now we're looking at the back of your thumb or wherever the camera's pointing. It's not at, it's something really close.
Okay, so it's
It's
because
like
it's blocked. It's not just because of terrible lighting. There we
Exactly,
go.
yes.
Bingo. Okay.
And Jason,
thought-
you've got the pin to first screen when people are showing stuff. So.
Okay. There we go. All right. Now we just have this
sweet.
lighting problem. So I'm gonna bring it over here. We got the dappled light. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find something super even, but okay. So no, this is just terrible. I'll have to figure this out. There we go. So yeah. Some of you may remember symmetry, asymmetry, and it was really a very similar problem to what I'm dealing with here. Is we've got a back piece, which is a nice place for sort of a balanced, symmetrical kind of composition, but I usually try not to be too symmetrical and static. So I'm looking for a way of kind of fitting both motifs in there, some S curving, flowing stuff, big bio shapes. And I always have fun doing that stuff with Don because we've collaborated so much that we've kind of come up with a language that we do together, kind of like John and I too. We've kind of come up with stuff that we can sort of revert to when we sit down and work together, and it always comes out cool.
Yeah.
But then we've got to make this lion head fit in here, and it can be as abstractified as we want. So that's good because I don't have a reference and I'm just kind of winging it. I know cats pretty well, but lions, it's like a cat with a bunch of floof.
Yeah. They are hard, aren't they? They kind of have that bulbous sort of like cheeks and chin and.
Yeah, the bigger nose. It's definitely a bigger nose than standard cats. And of course, this is the rough stage of it, because I'm going to end up with 3 or 4 thumbnails. I'm going to pass them on to Don. And so I don't want to be too resolved with any of it.
Yeah.
Because I think that is a good way to stifle a collaboration, is by going too far with that first stage. This is kind of like place lion here. That's what that means. Yeah, that's going to be my first big collab visit of this year. Last year, there were so few, and, there were a bunch scheduled.
Are you guys, so I guess you guys are able to sort of travel around in the States, yeah?
Oh, they're so loose about it in the US, to the point where it's almost worrying, but now it's reaching a point where, we're getting vaccinated at the end of the month, and more of our visitors are also vaccinated. And I know Don and everybody that are coming out here next month are.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I mean, it's changing in that regard. I don't know. I mean, I think that we're probably some of the least risky people to begin with. Just because we're so used to taking precautions to begin with, and we have decades of history of just being kind of cleaner in general. So like that whole thing of having crap on your hands and eating, we had that stuff nailed decades ago. The airborne thing is a little new, and we're still working on that, but the only tattooers I know who've had COVID so far did not get it at work. Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They got it from their kids or whatever. And I heard this thing on NPR yesterday, which I thought was interesting, that, all the cases they've tracked, like the origins, 1 in 1,000 of them happened outdoors.
Oh, wow.
And out of those, they're thinking almost all of that 1 in 1,000 were from crowded rallies and outdoor events like that. So, if you're dining outdoors or anything like that, you're in pretty good shape. Obviously, we're not tattooing outdoors, but I think that we probably have some of the least risky work environments out there, just because of all the precautions we're used to taking.
Yeah, it's you guys are, I wish we were at that stage, but I mean, for us here, we're not getting vaccinated for a while, and we're short on vaccinations. We're actually getting them from you guys at some point soon. And then we can't travel within province to province, so it'd be state to state for you guys, but we can't do that here. So we're all we're not locked down. Everything's kind of open except for restaurants. But we can't do anything still.
So you have to stay in BC.
Yep.
Isn't that the best part of Canada anyway?
It is. I think so.
Definitely the most beautiful.
It is nice. I'm glad we have this. But John's always saying, "Oh, is it going to rain again? It's raining."
Yeah. I don't know if he realized what he was signing up for. But,
I know. I don't think so.
All right. I have to come up with line number 2. All right. Another place line here. Sketch. Okay. So here's line number 1. I'm trying not to settle for drawing number 1, Ricardo, what you working on today?
I'm playing around with some back piece, like this girl's shoulder, upper shoulder, and right now I'm just kind of getting some subject matter together for it. I'm just working on getting this lion head. It's pretty funny that you said lion because I'm working on the female
Yeah,
lion.
that's a way better lion. Actually,
Yeah,
looks
so-
like a lion.
So
The side view is really, I always like that about them.
yeah, it's really like, it's pretty fierce. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I do like to share on profiles because they can, or the 3/4 turns, because a lot of times you can play with that stoic kind of feel to it a lot of times. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
but this one is this lady's first tattoo. We're doing some lettering with it, and it was pretty interesting because her and her husband both came in and talked to me over a consultation, and I pretty much took like, I think she had like 3 to 10,000 things that she wanted in her tattoo. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
All in a space of like 5 or 6 inches, and we kind of had to run down this filter that I've worked with for a while on how to direct the client into focal points and secondary kind of subject matter, things of importance for them. You know what I mean? So it was really interesting to kind of sit down with them and talk through it together and kind of go over the discovery process, as far as like what was the meaning behind it for them and stuff. Because a lot of times when they want that many things, there's some relevance to the subject matter. So we just kind of narrowed it down, worked it out, and it's a pretty good start to the project so far. So I'm pretty excited about it.
I think often people feel a sense of relief once you've helped them narrow it down because, they might seem really enthusiastic about getting all that crap in there, but really what they want is to make sure that their tattoo says the important stuff.
Yep.
And they need a little professional guidance, and we shouldn't, be impatient with people that come with too many ideas, because how do they know?
That's exactly it. I talk with a lot of people about that. It's like, and then the funny thing is a lot of people want to be polite and they're apologizing. And it's like, there's no reason for you to apologize. You know what I mean? Like, you're coming in this brand new, you know what I mean? Like, this is your first tattoo. You don't know what to expect. You know what I mean? So I get it. I get where you're coming from, and I get the importance of what these things mean to you. They mean so much to you that when you want to put them on your body permanently, you know what I mean? So let's just kind of go through this process together, and we'll figure it out, So it is important to kind of have that patience with them. And I think a lot of the times for us as a tattoo artist, we get kind of bogged down with that idea that we lose sight of the fact that this is a person walking in and they don't know what to expect. You know what I mean? But we're so used to dealing with it on a daily basis almost that it becomes, you can become kind of jaded with it, but.
Well, one thing that happened to me when I was young is, I was a 16-year-old getting tattooed, and so I got a professional tattoo, and it turned out pretty well, right? Looked like my drawing. And I was all stoked, but I didn't have money for a second one quite yet. So I hand poked this shitty skull in my forearm, and I knew it was shitty. And I called the guys up, and I'm like, "Hey, so I have this hand poked skull I did on my forearm, and I was wondering, like, since I put the outline down, what would it cost to color it?"
Oh, you're one of those.
I asked that. I was that guy. Yeah, I did it. And he was patient, and I was like, well, we're probably, in order for it to really look like a nice tattoo, we're probably going to have to redo the entire thing so it can all, look like one tattoo. I was like, oh,
right.
That almost makes sense, huh?
Yeah. That's incredible, man. The journey guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because we all start out knowing nothing, I try not to be impatient with those that, arrive with the silly questions. And, even in being in my situation where, largely I'm working on people that have been tattooed before, there's definitely going to be a few that have very little work, or, a couple of first timers. And I understand that they are at ground zero, you know what I mean? And it's my job to tell them what they need to know. And if their ideas are going to lead them into a blind alley and paint themselves into a corner, they don't know that. Right. They don't know that it's a bad idea to get a big shoulder blade tattoo because 2 years from now, they're going to be trying to turn it into a back piece. They don't know they're going to get a back piece. They have no idea they're going to become completely addicted to tattoos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do find, oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead, for real.
I was just going to say, I do find sometimes that one of the problems that I tend to run into, and I don't really always know how to deal with it that well, is when I have somebody that say maybe wants something, and then they kind of maybe know the process, or they know that like later on they might want more, and they're considering all of these things. And then as you go, because it's maybe one of their first ones, or they're not familiar with the process or any of the processes, because I mean, everybody has different ones, but then they sort of want to make the changes as you go. So like, say, I don't know if you guys ever run into that, but I've found sometimes, you'll get a client that wants to come in and they get their consultation. We start the tattoo. I've done the color studies, everything they're happy with. And then as we go, then they're sort of questioning, maybe, actually, I know you got that whole thing purple, but maybe we could go with red. And then you kind of have to explain to them that this is like, well, wow, we got to overhaul the whole thing. Yeah, at this point. And also, it's not really a good time to sort of question that at this period. So I just find that sometimes there's little things that, you run into, and it's a little hard to sort of like deal with.
Yeah, I think one of the things that many artists struggle with is how much do you even show your client beforehand?
Well, yeah,
because it doesn't necessarily make them happier. It often just gives them more doubt in the process.
Yeah.
And it doesn't benefit anyone. Now, I will sometimes, when I genuinely have a couple, 3 sketches that I'm not sure which one to run with. And this is very early in the process, right? The drawing doesn't look like much yet. It's not colored, they're like these, and I might send my client a message with 3 of these and say, is there one of these that jumps out to you? Because if there's not one that I clearly prefer, then they might give me the nudge that I need. And they might even tell me why. And that might actually like inform the rest of my design process. So I do like to get their involvement in terms of getting to know their tastes better, getting to know what it is about my work that they were attracted to. If there were certain pieces of mine that they particularly liked that led them to contacting me, I want to know what those pieces are, and even better, what they liked about them. That doesn't mean they're going to get a carbon copy of that piece, but it is going to mean that I am going to know their taste a little bit better.
Yeah, that eliminates a lot of that process what you're talking about, Christina. Like, absolutely, I agree too, guys, that it gives you a direction, right? And it gives you less room for that error where somebody will say, well, what about this color? Like you said, like, how about we just change it to red? There's a couple of different ways to approach it, really. You know what I mean? Like, one of the things is, a lot of the times, I know a guy, you probably have a lot of people coming from like out of country or out of state, and that there's very little room for that margin. But I think if it's a more of a local thing, you know what I mean? It's like one of those situations where you have the business aspect of it, and then you also have the reality of like you wanting to make a good tattoo. So you kind of have to say, the part of the process, the consultation process, is almost like they sign off on this design that you've come up with, all this work that you've put into the effort. Like, they literally have to sign their name to it, agreeing that they've taken, consideration over the image, that they like it, they like the direction they're going, and then you sign off on it. Now, if they change it,
some artists have policies. That there's artists that have policy. I know Russ Abbott has a policy about this. Michelle, my wife, has had to have a policy about this. She's never had to enforce it. Okay. But basically, first drawing is included in the price of the tattoo.
Yeah. Right.
And this is, with reasonable changes, if you like everything about it, except could this be a little larger, or this be moved over here, or whatever. That's reasonable. Now, if you want to make substantial changes, and even though, this is the drawing that we agreed to and everything else, then there's a fee for that. And I think the purpose for that is not because you'll ever need to actually enforce that, but just knowing about that policy is a reminder to people that drawings take work,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not only that, but the effort that you've put into it to create the most legible design for this person that you can. It's not like you're trying to convince them that you can do good work. It's like they've seen your work. Hopefully it's word of mouth that's the reason that they're coming to you, you know, because they've seen your work and they're like, who did that? I want a tattoo from this person, you know what I mean? Which is the best way to do it. But yeah, I agree with you, guy. Like there's some room for, like, you know, moving around, but like you said, Christina, if it's an entire color scheme, like it changes the whole feel of the image. Even it almost even changes the composition sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
It's like you look at it and you go, oh my God, dude, I have to draw this whole thing over again because
Yeah.
I almost planned everything around the color scheme even, you know? So
Yeah.
it
You know,
can
my
make it hard.
biggest curveball client is not local. He is from Germany, and
Wow.
he's out for multiple days each time. And fortunately, we'll always have like that first day for us to talk about his crazy curveball idea, because it's always something different from the last time we talked. And I'm used to that. I come prepared. But then that first day I'll work on, you know, just recoloring something else that I did on him before or whatever. And I've got a day or whatever to rework our designs and figure it out. But you know, I try to embrace the curveballs. I try not to be too habitual about how I tattoo or how I draw. It's real easy to get into a place where you're selling a particular type of art and people know that about you and they buy that and they're happy. And you almost don't even have to show a drawing. They know exactly what they're going to get. So the curveballs are, it's like voluntarily taking on hard labor exercise, you know, saying I could live without this because my clients are already paying me money, you know, but I want to stay flexible and I want to push myself harder. And so, you know, please challenge me.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, it keeps you loose, it keeps you fluent. And, you know, also like you were saying too, is that there's a lot of creation. There's a lot of like really magical moments whenever you do sit down with your client and they might point something out that you didn't even think about, you know what I mean? They kind of help you change the drawing, and you become part of this moment, you know what I mean? Where it's like, it's super cool and they're like really involved with it. And we like go over the design together. Like I've done a couple tattoos like that, and it's always been fun. You know what I mean? Like just releasing yourself to the moment and be like, all right, what do I really know? What do I really know? You know what I mean? Like, and is it because I'm catering to myself or catering to these people, when the principle of tattooing is like, without the client, we wouldn't really be doing anything anyway. Right. So I always kind of go back to that question for myself where I go, all right, let me just shut up and listen and then see what they have to offer. You know what I mean? And maybe they have some really sound advice. And a lot of times it's another way to look at the composition for sure. You know?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I feel like there's kind of that improv moment where all of a sudden you and your client have like, they may have an idea and then all of a sudden you realize like, oh, what do I even know? How did I not think about that? That is like, you're brilliant, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, amazing. my favorite is when they identify a couple of different things that I do regularly, but that I've never combined. You know what I mean? It never even occurred to me to combine these things. And they're like, how come you never do this with this? Like, because no one's ever suggested it. Thanks.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of growth, right? That's the whole point of growth, is like opening up to that moment. So it's pretty neat when that happens. That's awesome. But there's some organic kind of things that can happen in those moments where it's like, you know what, I can go down one of two paths. I can either be really frustrated and tell them, you know how much time I've spent on this thing, man, and everything else that I've had to deal with right now. But you just kind of go with it and open yourself up. And it's really, it can be pretty fun. You know, it can be pretty fun.
Well, you know, it's funny too, that when you say that, because like, do you guys find that sometimes you'll put all this work and time and thought into like one piece for somebody, and then you'll have another piece that you're like maybe put on the back burner, and then you finally get to it and you do it, and you care. I mean, like I'll try and care and everything, but you don't care as much. And then that particular piece is the one that is, for some reason, sort of the better piece, the piece that you didn't put enough work into. Maybe you didn't really care as much. And
you didn't labor over it.
You didn't labor over it. And then that's the one that kind of gets the most sort of recognition, or, your client is super happy with it, or everybody else comments at the shop that how awesome that one is, you know?
it's funny, you know what I mean? Because I hear you saying this, and I can agree with you. Like, there's a couple different ways to think about it. It's like, is that the reason that the other one wasn't that fun? Is because it was intense. It was hard work. It was a lot of labor. You lost a lot of like patience over it. And you're like, I don't know about you guys, but you know, when you're drawing analog and stuff like that, you just crumple it up and throw it away. Like, I hate this
Yeah.
stuff. You know, but and you start all over, you know, and like, why did you're hanging out with your friends, like, why'd you throw that thing away? It looked great. You're like, no, it's terrible. You know, it's terrible.
It's not the way I saw it in my head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the moments that you just kind of sit down and you go with it, man, it's almost like you're tapping into this flow that's already in the air. You know what I mean? And like, you just kind of like pick from it and you just become part of this fluid motion, and it's fun, dude. And it's relaxing. And it just like, it becomes more than just a drawing for you. It's like that moment that you get to fucking experience that like fluid motion. You know, it's pretty incredible. But I think I agree with you completely. Like, why did you guys like that one? Like, you know, I drew that thing in like 10 minutes. You know, but
That might be why, though.
yeah, exactly.
That's the funny thing. Jason, you've been quiet. What you working on today?
Homework.
Homework. Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I've got a pretty quiet week coming up. But
Yeah.
just to chime in on what you guys were saying, like I always equate that to I know this is one of my biggest flaws, is that I overthink things. And so when I've got something that I've really been laboring on and I've really been working on and I've really been putting a lot of effort into, I almost find that I tend to overwork it and overthink it. And sometimes what people prefer the most is something that almost seems to come from your unconscious, right? Where you're not overthinking it, you're kind of doing it, it's spur of the moment, there's a bit more energy to it. Maybe you're not really caring so much about the way that it turns out, but because you're not, you know, being overly cautious with it, that's what gives it that kind of organic quality. Right?
Flow. Yeah.
And so that's just kind of what I've noticed. But that's also based on my own personal flaws that I'm actively always trying to work on. So
Yeah, I think overthinking and getting hesitant and trying too hard and that sort of thing, I think those are all very universal among us artists. I'm sure we all have our own different variation on the theme, but you know, my insistence to myself that I do multiple thumbnails for every project is part of me trying to avoid that, because I do get very caught up in it myself, you know, and often I'll have a thumbnail I like, and then I'll start fleshing it out, and I'll be pretty far along with it. And then, you know, the proportions are all off, and I start having issues with it when it's pretty well developed, second guessing it at that point. It's like, man, I thought I had this nailed as a thumbnail. But, you know, as you get deeper in, you start developing, you might lose some of that initial flow, or as you clarify it, it might stop being as, it might lose some of that initial fire that it had, you know? And those are all hard things to juggle as you're doing the drawing. And yeah, I don't know, the overthinking or the trying too hard. I don't know how to avoid that part, and just to stay loose and stay flowing and kind of keep that confidence that it's all good, and trust the process and everything. It's easy to say that stuff.
I find too that like it's can you hear me okay?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Okay. I find too that with that sort of state of mind is that sometimes it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing sometimes too, is the fact that we have sessions with people. So like you go into your actual tattoo and then you're done, you know, like you don't have to keep going for hours and hours. You know, you go as long as the client can, and then at that point, you know, you stop, you take a break and then for a few weeks, and then they come back, and then you can get to it again and with a fresh mind. Where, you know, for me, when I'm drawing and stuff, like I'll get up and I'll, you know, go make coffee or, you know, that kind of stuff. And then on another hand too, is that when is like, sometimes I feel like, when's it done? Like I never really feel like my pieces are finished.
Yes.
You know?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Right? Like I almost feel like you overthink it to the point where you almost you're like scared to go back into it at the end. You know, you're like, oh man, but I could have done this, or I can do that, or I could do this. And you always say all these coulds and shoulds, and then you like, you know, you almost fail yourself in some ways, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think yeah.
Sorry, I was just going to chime in. I don't even know if it's Guy's story or my story, or I mean, it's just a story. Guy, do you remember on Interstate at Hell City, the art show, where like Nick and Jeff, if they weren't like right next to each other, they were like very close.
Yeah.
And it was amazing just to kind of watch the difference in the way that they work through the course of the 5 days. It was because they're almost, I mean, they're not opposites, but they were, you know, the state of flow certainly looks different with Nick than it does with Jeff, right?
Right. And the amazing thing is that they've done some incredible collaborations, even having that very different state of flow, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Nick is just like, you know, very meticulous, and he's on it. You know, Jeff walks in and, you know, is a whirlwind for an hour or 2 or 3 or whatever, and has to walk away from it. And Nick is still there, you know, making sure everything's as precise as he sees. And that was an amazing show, the Interstate. It'd be fun to. There was a video of that, isn't there?
Yeah. There's, you know, in fact, at this point, we should just make that available for free streaming, because it's been sitting for a while without people buying copies, and I would like to get it out there more. Lot
Awesome.
of good
Yeah,
stories
maybe we'll
there.
have a viewing party or something.
Yeah, you know, with that.
Oh, keep
Go
going. Okay. No, you go.
Oh, I was going to say, with that particular project, like I was not available to do the interviews. And as a result, unfortunately, we didn't really have a lot of direction for the interviewing. And so, you know, there ended up being, you know, the artists are talking about each other and the way that they've been influenced by each other, which is cool, right? But I feel like I really missed out on tell us what your art is about.
Yeah.
About this piece. What are you doing with this piece? Why are you doing this piece? You know, since it is supposed to be an expression of your inner self, I'd like to hear about it.
I think too, you know, something that would be, and you know, Guy, I think you're the only person that really does that. But I think that when you're actually picking these people's brains, like some of these artists' brains, like what are you thinking? Like what's making you choose these colors, and where is that coming from, and stuff like that. I think that that's really valuable information, inspiring anyway. And I think that too, like what I really like about seeing some of the collaborations, like when I was watching you and John do those collaborations on, oh, I forgot their names. I think Keith and somebody else. And it was so cool to see, Gabe, like you said, like seeing their processes, they're quite different. But once they kind of got together on one body, like once they were working on this body, it was like you guys were in this flow where all of a sudden each choice that they were both making at that one time was sort of coinciding in this really unique sort of way. And it was really, really inspiring to watch that, and to see that you could almost see the choices that they were making without asking what they were thinking, because you thought, you know, for example, like you'd see maybe John sort of working on some kind of round shape or bulbous sort of shape, and then Guy would sort of be right in there sort of choosing the light source, and then all of a sudden that's their light source, and then they're sort of going from there. And I found that really inspirational. And say watching maybe some of the older tapes that were available, you know, like say Paul Booth, and what was it, Philip, I think they were doing some painting.
Yeah,
at
the
some
art
point.
fusion experiment.
Yeah. And so like seeing that kind of stuff, you know, it's too bad that we can't really get that as much on video, but maybe you guys can sort of push that more. But I mean, what I'm basically trying to get at is that seeing that process, and sort of being able to sort of insert your own thinking into it, like, oh wow, they must be choosing that that color because of, this is a cool area or a warm area. It's really cool to sort of see that come together.
It's like the ultimate trinity.
Yeah, the thing I love about the collaboration is, usually I'm working with people that we have at least some common understanding, and in terms of what makes a strong composition, that sort of thing. So there's certain givens, right? And so we can talk about, hey, how are we gonna make this thing flow in the beginning? And we'll kind of figure out, okay, we're going with this kind of flow. What are our foreground objects? Okay, let's pick out some foreground objects. Where are we gonna use our concentrated black and where are we not, right? And then once we've figured those things out, man, it not much else needs to be said. That's the thing that I've found is building from that foundation of mutual understanding is enough.
Yeah.
That's incredible, man.
It's interesting.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall, just to observe and just start asking questions, because there are so many different ways and so many different questions that I can come up with in my mind, as far as like, okay, well, you've decided what your primary focal point is, what your primary subject matter is, but how are you deciding, say for example, the chroma and what level of saturation you want certain colors to be at? Are you
Right.
just different tiny little minutia that could make a world of difference? Or,
Yeah,
okay,
well, a
I
lot of it,
understand you're putting this out of focus, but why would you put that out of focus when maybe it's a secondary element? Or, how are you really creating the value in the environment that you are? Where's your mind taking you?
a lot of it
Yeah.
definitely does get said. I mean, there's a need to flesh out some of these things, and then, as we're going, there might be a certain like banter, like, hey, this stuff back here, what do you say we go with a dark opaque gray instead of black? Oh, yeah, let's do that, because that way, blah 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 blah. We'll be kind of tweaking the particulars as we go, but that has to start with I think the single most important thing is just knowing where the true blacks are going, where they're not. The division of dark and light, especially if it's a larger piece, because if you've got two different ideas of what's going on there, before you know it, you've already blown it. Before you've even got color in place, you've got a dense tattoo.
Yeah, like for example, like if you didn't even do the color, the foundation of it all in the darks would make sense and it would look good on its own.
Yeah, but it's nice to know where your non-darks are going to be, and also, let's just say you've got a foreground object and a background. I'd like to know, are we going to be using strong blacks in our foreground object and toning it down a little bit in the background, or are we going to go super black in the background and keep shading a little lighter in our foreground? Because I kind of like to do one or the other, instead of going all the way black with both the foreground and the background, because I find that then it's not as visually clear what's what.
Yeah, it maintains visual priority.
Of course, that is an oversimplification, and there's going to be exceptions to that rule all the time, but that's at least a good assumption to start with.
Yeah. What do you like for, I guess, everybody, but like, what do you guys, as far as maybe a subject matter or something like that, what do you guys find that is your most, like, you really, really gotta hone in on, like that you find the hardest thing to kind of do, in simpler terms? But what do you guys struggle with the most, as far as like say if somebody came to you and they said that they wanted a lion or something like that, is that something that you really like? What's it going to take for you to become comfortable with it? Like, are you going to do a bunch of research? Are you going to go and do some studies? Like, what do you struggle with?
Okay, well, I mean, with the case of this, my main struggle is just simply not having a reference, but I figure that's fine because of the early stage that these sketches are at. By the time it comes back to me after Don's next pass, we'll be, well past that and have a couple of references that we're working from. So I'm not really worried about that. But I definitely want to make sure that it strikes that right balance. I don't want to make a cheesy looking tattoo. It's like, ooh, a biomech lion, we could easily get all the way cheese with that. But we could also do something super cool. So I want to make sure that that's what happens. I don't know. I think for me, one of the biggest challenges is when somebody asks me for something I've done a bunch of times. And my real struggle there is how can I change it up and still give them their request? I think that's one of the tough ones.
Do you find that in that case, are you do you find that you're trying to break away from the ones that you've already done, or are you ending up sort of referring back to the ones that you've already done at that point?
Well, I mean, I'm definitely going to want to make them as different as I can while still being true to the request. Right. But, there's some challenges there. One thing I don't want to do is make something that's real similar, but much better. I mean, on the one hand, I want to improve, but on the other hand, I don't want I don't want to rip off my own work and make a new one that makes the old one look bad. I don't know. I just think that's bad juju. But there's nothing wrong with me looking at something I've done in the past and getting new ideas that are along the same vein and doing something new. So that's one of the challenges is finding that balance.
Yeah. I feel like that was the same kind of thing. Like at one point I was talking with Joe Capabianco, and he was saying like that, man, everybody always wants, these faces, these girl faces. And there's just only so much you can, like only so many angles that you could sort of draw. And, before you start referring back to some of your older stuff that you've already done. And
well, that was like when Jesse Smith had to say, no more squirrels.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I am going to have to cut away from here. I am technically at a birthday party, and I think that stuff is going to get opened. So I'm going to have to split. Jason, when this session is over, are you going to have a chance for a call?
Absolutely.
Okay. And obviously no rush. I'm sorry you have to cut away, having fun and all that, but I don't want to be the dick that doesn't make it for the present opening. So I'm going to go do that. And it's been great hanging with you all. And Jason, I'll send you a message when I'm done with this, and or you just send me a message when the session's over, and we'll line it up from there.
Sounds good. I'll give you a little bit for the present opening. So
awesome. Well, hey, great seeing you all, and be seeing you tomorrow night.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Sounds great.
Cheers.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
So cool.
Just to make a comment there, one thing that I've always struggled with, and it's something that I always try to do whenever I approach new subject matter, is, finding great references and studying them, really breaking down basic shapes, okay, well, if this is this shape, how is that going to look at this perspective, right? And then how does this shape connect to this shape? And how are those going to look at a different perspective? How is this angle versus this angle? And, what kind of elements am I missing, and what's going to stay the same, just, no matter which perspective you're at. So it's something that I always try to do is deconstruct and just break down basic shapes and basic elements, because once you know your basic shapes that create whatever subject matter you're approaching, you can always take that and then say, okay, if this is a sphere, this is a cone, and this is a cube, and I have my light source coming from this direction, then I know exactly how to shade those specific shapes to get a very direct light source. And so I know everything's going to look agreeable, but if I don't break it down, then I'm going into it blind, and it's like, well, what am I going to do here as far as the light source goes? Or, how is this going to have an effect on the cast shadow that I need to be here? So for me, it's something I always try to do is just break it down and then look at my light source as well.
Oh, yeah, that's like a really good point, because, I find too that when I'm drawing something, and this is where the iPad is so awesome, is that like, you know, when I'm say maybe if I'm drawing a hand, which always is so kind of weird and hard to do, but when you're doing it, like when I do it, I'll draw it out, and then I kind of just flip it around, like I'll just flip it like horizontally or whatever, and then see it at that angle, and okay, yeah, that to me that looks right. You know, sometimes I'll ask somebody else if it looks right, and then from that point sort of usually study my own hand or whatever it is, and then when it comes to color study, like desaturating it or whatever with like a layer and seeing like, okay, everything here looks like, you know, all the darks are dark, the lights are in the right spot, maybe I got to fix something here or here, and then, you know, go back and forth in that way. And I find that that's usually helps quite a bit in a pinch, you know.
Right. I can definitely see that.
The other thing too is like sometimes when you want to insert your own sort of style or whatever into it, like say maybe something normally wouldn't, maybe for example, I'm just keep using hands, but like when you're using, like if you're looking at a hand and I want to make this hand look really sort of like sickly or something, and then I want to extend some fingers or whatever and make sure that they don't look too weird or over, you know, extended or something like that, then that's when it becomes like, you know, touch and go. Like I want it to look weird, but I don't want it to look incorrect or awkward or you know, something like that.
Well, and I think you just touched on something that's very, very important. The difference between making things look weird and stylized and
Yeah.
then just making them look completely incorrect. Right.
Yeah.
Because you can morph and transform things, you know, to your heart's content. But as long as they are correct, say anatomically or, you know, basic shape wise, is once again, I'd like to break everything down. But as long as everything looks correct, then you can morph it in any way you want.
Right.
But if it's not fundamentally correct, then no amount of skewing or morphing or changing anything is going to make it look correct.
Totally.
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think that's one of my biggest struggles is taking reference and make it into your own rather than just replicating it or trying to replicate it as close as possible. You know what I mean? Like understanding that it's like it's just for the shape, you know, and you don't want to use it as is. You want to try to create it and make it your own. So that's definitely one of the most difficult things, I think, without skewing it so much, like Jason is saying, without making it look like it's like, what am I looking at, dude? Like, am I looking at a brick with some sausages coming off of it or something, or what? You know, and as far as
What, are
it
you
goes
making
with
fun
the
of
hand.
how I draw hands now? Is that in the prototype?
Right, exactly. I mean, you do recall me saying that. Is that? I thought we were drunk, so but you do remember me saying that? Okay.
Yeah, because that's exactly how all of my hands look.
Yeah.
I like the desaturation technique too. Sometimes as when I see tattoos come through, and I could, you know, I can see how they'd be better. You know, I'll bring them into you know, Photoshop, and you know, just for the sake. Sometimes it's with art. I mean, often it's with artwork too. And yeah, hit it so that it's just on a grayscale, and then I use, you know, the dodge and burn tools. And it's embarrassing because I don't do any of the tattoo. I don't do any of the search. But so when artists are putting shit up, I'm like, oh man, I could like in 5 minutes, you know. I mean, I've taken a lot of seminars, I suppose, but in 5 minutes, I could, you know, darken your darks, lighten your lights, get the contrast right. You know, it's not that. I mean, it's relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
So there's actually a really easy trick that you can use to check that as you're working, especially in multi-layer like Procreate documents. And it's something that I kind of got clued into a few weeks ago. We'll take this guy, for example, right? This was one of my homework assignments, and I was kind of curious about, you know, my value and my contrast. And I just wanted to make sure it was on a good level as far as that's concerned, as far as my white and dark balance. One thing you can do, it's like a little quick little shortcut, is to create a new layer, pull up a neutral gray tone, right, on your palette, take that and drag it, fill the layer, and then switch the layer down to
Oh, yeah, okay.
saturation, and
Look at
that'll give
you.
you a full black and gray image
Oh,
without having to adjust any of the saturation in the actual image itself.
oh, cool. I didn't know that.
So you're just creating a whole new layer of that opaque gray.
Yep.
And then you
And
drag
filling
it
the layer
through.
with it,
Yeah.
and then you just switch it to saturation. It will desaturate everything.
Oh, that's
That's
awesome.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. It just jumps right out at you at that point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's
And
one of the
you
things
can
that I
go
love
back to
about
the
black and
color
gray.
just by hiding that layer. So you can keep this at the top. Maybe you want to lock it and always keep it as your topmost layer.
That's what I
And
was
then
gonna say. You
as you're
almost want to-
working on it, just enable it or disable it to check your value scale.
Yeah. Yeah, you can almost just leave it there from the very get-go. Like every drawing
Yeah.
you do, just always have that one opaque gray ready to go, and then that's your platform. That's your foundation.
Yep.
That's interesting. Look at you, Jason, man. You're always surprising me with this ninja
Yeah.
iPad stuff, dude. It's incredible.
I've got more little iPad tips and tricks than I can even remember sometimes.
Well, I'm gonna.
That's a
pick
good
the
one. Make sure
shit
you
out
get
of
that
your
one over to
brain.
Guy.
Yeah. Well, actually, Guy was the one that clued me into it a few weeks ago.
Oh, there you go.
He's already aware. Don't worry about that.
The grasshopper has become the
Hey, guys, this was a really good conversation, really rich. I'll definitely be in touch with you guys again at some point because this was really fun. So,
Absolutely.
but I do have to go and tattoo now.
Have
Go
fun.
for it. Go for it.
Good to meet you.
Yeah,
Keep
good to
in
meet-
touch. I'd love to have
Yeah.
you on, as often as you want to be on Sundays.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you very
It
much
is.
for joining in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. We'll talk
Bye.
later.
See ya.
Bye.
Sounds great. Take care.
Bye.
That was fun, man.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was great, dude. That made my day. That was fantastic time.
Yeah, her artwork is insane, dude.
Yeah, that's the first time I've seen it. It's pretty incredible. I'm about to give her some tattoo ideas.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, as soon as the Canadian border opens, you and me are hopping on a flight. We're heading up to British Columbia. And we're just going to do a tour of every tattoo studio in British Columbia.
I bet my eyeballs will probably pop out of my head. I'm sure of it, dude.
Well, I already have a list of 3 different places to check out now.
All right, killer, let's do it.
Well,
Sign me up.
Black Rabbit Tattoo, Deadly Tattoos,
Ricardo.
and Craftsman Tattoos.
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over the other shops. Which ones are they?
Black Rabbit Tattoo, which is who Christina is.
Yep.
Where she works. Deadly Tattoos, where the Tex family works,
Mhm.
and Craftsman Tattoos, which is not that far away from Deadly Tattoos, but it's owned and run by Clint Danroth. I got tattooed by him in London, and I just always look at this guy's illustrations. I just absolutely love his work. He does a lot of the same kind of neo-traditional Japanese inspired work that I really, really love. In fact, let me
Nice.
pull him up real quick.
And is Kaya Heitland out in British Columbia, or is that me not knowing my Canadian geography?
I'm not positive.
Ricardo, do you know Kaya's work?
No, sir, sure don't. I'm not-
That's another awesome tattooer to pull up. Kaya, Kaijah, Heitland.
I gotta tell you, I gotta be honest with you, Gabe, man. I've been out of the loop for such a long time, dude. I haven't kept up. You know what I mean? I followed a
It's
few
fun.
people on Instagram here and there, but I'm definitely interested though, for sure.
She's a sick bio, but also very nature inspired. Just other crafts too, pretty fucking awesome, like jewelry and fabrics.
Nice. Nice, just
Yeah, I'm
all
pulling up her
around.
page now.
Okay, straight up.
So this is Kaya Heitland. Look at the texture.
Oh yeah, man.
Look at
Oh yeah,
that.
dude, that's awesome.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, and the light sources that she gets out of that, like, textured biomax stuff with black and gray it's fantastic.
I love the use of nice, bold, dark perimeter line,
Yeah.
and you don't really have any of that darkness to that same kind of value on anything else. It's strictly as a perimeter line.
Yeah, and you can see the separation between those two like layers, that outside perimeter line and then that second source on the inside, and then those little like black ovalish kind of shapes next to that skin tone. Just man, it's just electric.
Absolutely, man. That is, and that little bit of a ghost wing back there.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, it definitely filled up that
sick.
space. Yeah, without that, it probably would have just looked kind of off, wouldn't it? But it looks cool how it like establishes that background and foreground.
Well, yeah, it's definitely establishing your foreground, midground, and background. And you're right. Without that, you would have no reference point for what the background is. It
Right.
would look very lost.
Yeah. And all that skin tone showing through and that complete, like quote unquote complete tattoo, right? It would be kind of incomplete if that was the case, if it wasn't there. Yeah, that's awesome. Man, I like the use of the play on the line weight too. There's like a bead run kind of feel to some of that stuff, the way the lines contour the shape and stuff too.
I agree, man. And then you got like some chrome biomech here. This looks very Marcus Leonhard-esque.
Yeah, for
As
sure.
far as like just the textures, the visual
Yeah.
shapes.
Right. Like
Yeah, they do work together.
Do they? Yeah.
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 I mean, not at the
I
same
mean-
time all the time, but they're frequently collaborating.
Well, you can tell, and it's awesome to be able to learn from somebody like that and be able to work in close proximity with someone like that, and then be able to. It's one thing to be able to look at this stuff and visualize it and understand it, and then be able to apply it is an entirely different beast. So the fact that she's doing it, it looks fantastic, dude. That crane is awesome.
There's a dual interview out there on Tattoo Now, I think, where they talk about speaking the same visual language and being like, oh shit, look at that. Oh, wait a minute. We could do this shit together. And it's like, we
Yeah.
speak the same language.
Yep. It's interpretation and legibility, right? So
Right. Well, I mean, even here, I mean, look at this, man.
That-
Look at just like the visual language that's going on in this. I mean, you have foreground, middle ground, and background all within just the center of this flower.
yeah. Yeah, that play on the way that, what kind of flower, the poppy flower, you know what I mean? The
Yeah.
play on like the insides of those flowers just realistically have that curvature to them. And then the way she played off of it to work into those lines that go off into the background and stuff, man. And it doesn't confuse anything with like what you're saying, that focal point right in the middle. It's like so cohesive. It's incredible. Like it's like a wave.
Yeah, it's like a universe within a universe.
Yeah.
It's impressive. Seriously impressive.
That's very cool. I like her jewelry too. It's really awesome. That's a whole nother art form. That's a whole nother
Oh,
like
dude,
beast.
that's a form of art I cannot begin to comprehend.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the intricacies are insane. And knowing your materials,
Right.
I mean,
And you
that's-
kind of shape it out to the stone. Right. Exactly. And man, I got to give kudos to her for being able to do all these different things. My brain works like if I start something else, that's everything else goes by the wayside and that's it. It's like black or white, you know what I mean? It's unfortunate, but like the fact that she can do drawing, painting, tattooing, canning, it looks like she's canning her own food and stuff, which is awesome. So it's a lost art that's thankfully starting to come back. Yeah, man, it's incredible. That's cool, dude.
yeah.
What is that on the
definitely
back?
amazing. What?
What was that on the back? That shoulder.
That was a little bit further down here.
Yep, that's it. Oh, look at
Looks
that.
like a Luna moth. Some nice Art Nouveau filigree.
Yeah.
The flowers.
That's awesome.
Going over onto the shoulder. Once again, you have that nice, dark, bold perimeter line.
Yep.
Very nice gray lines on the inside to soften up that, but that nice perimeter line to help keep it, help keep it in form over time. The
Yeah.
intricacy of that chrysanthemum
Yeah.
is migraine inducing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just looking at that and then saying to myself, how would I tattoo that?
Yeah.
Like I'm just getting a migraine just thinking about it.
Well, it's got all the correct underlying intersecting lines too, as far as the composition goes, man. And it flows really well. Yeah, dude, that's incredible. Very Muka.
Mm-hmm. All black and gray too. And I think it starts out over here.
Look at that.
I'm pretty sure this is the same person. If not,
Oh,
it
that's
looks like
nice.
the same style.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice, man.
Yeah, it is the same person. Because you can see the peak of the Luna moth over here.
Yeah.
Jason, two things. You want to show us the fellow that you were
Yes,
the other guy that was on your list?
Danroth.
And your microphone seems to be either losing power, maybe, or I don't know. It's getting a little wonky.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hopefully not. Hopefully I'm still coming through all right.
There you go. You're good now.
Okay, cool.
You're gonna have to get some of those earphones that I never carry with me.
I know, right? So this is Clint Danroth. I was lucky enough to get tattooed by him in London a few years ago.
Okay.
Works mostly large scale, very illustrative. Does a lot of those power negative lines like you can see underneath the arm to separate objects and subject matter. Like look at the spear and how you have that negative space line that goes all the way around it, but you notice it varies and how it gets bigger around objects that are coming further towards you.
Yeah.
And that helps push subject matter further back.
Hmm.
Color
I'll
scheme
remember.
is just, his color choices and color palette are just amazing. I love that purple and gold with that teal splash.
And the blue. Yeah. It's really powerful.
Absolutely. Lots and lots of, diagonal lines and flowing shapes. Very more simple rendering though. If you look, he tends not to overcomplicate things, allowing a lot of his line weight and shapes to kind of determine, the way that your eye moves. I actually own a couple of his sketchbooks, and I remember sitting down the one day and literally just studying them, picking apart different tricks that he's using in different spots and his use of negative space and positive space, creating shapes out of negative flow and, really moving your eye around a piece in some of these seemingly, unbelievably complex tattoos.
Yeah.
But that are just so easily digestible visually that you have problems picking out what they are, right? Perfect. This big Hanya back piece could very easily have been overcomplicated, right? With lots and lots of different textures, lots of different values, way more focus on super crazy detail, even though it's one primary large subject matter, but it's very easily digestible. And you can see based on his use of negative space, how that flows in together. Everything is directing your eye all the way up and around from this wave over here to this negative space line over here. The background moving further in towards the center point. You have more negative space flow, bringing your eye back up and around, as well as the angle of the jaw over here is moving your eye around.
Even the hair following the same movement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it's really cool. Like you're right. It's got the same principles as all a lot of the traditional tattooing too. You know what I mean? Especially towards the Japanese area where it's like background is half, color is half, line work is the predominant feature, and then and the flow and the negative and positive kind of effect that it has on itself. It's great. And the color contrast, man, like how harmonious it is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Those vibrant blues next to those vibrant pinks with some desaturated reds right next to it. Those very, very, not necessarily vibrant, but more of a muted down kind of gold tone.
Yeah.
You know, which is really allowing the blues and the pinks to stand out a lot more.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. Nice piece.
Yeah, just, you know, I fell in love with his work and his style. Notice the use of negative space and open skin tone to really bring emphasis to the head of the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can go through and dissect artwork day in and day out. That's not a problem. It's just, you know, I try to, instead of spending my time dissecting artwork, I try to apply it to my own, you know, but there's unbelievable lessons that you can learn just by looking at, you know, a very simplistic piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, look at the amount of value that he has and how simplistic everything gets kept. You know, it just really allows for that larger piece to be very, very easily read.
Mm-hmm.
What if, sorry to pipe in. What if we started some activities? I'm just thinking at one point we were playing a game of like who don't you know, I think is what we were calling it.
Yeah.
And we were trying to come up with people, and we were going around in a circle. And one of the amazing parts is, I think, Ricardo, you were like, well, I want to say Philip Blue, but I'm not, because everyone knows Philip Blue. And someone was like, I don't even know Philip Blue. We were like, holy shit, okay.
Yeah.
But if we like put that up so that we did that like once a month or whatever, and had like a panel of people, that would be fun, especially if people have a little bit of preparation too.
Yeah.
The other show idea I was thinking of is cover up 911.
Nice.
Oh dear Lord.
People submit their cover ups, and then we could have a crew of artists come up with all sorts of different ideas of what they could cover it up with or whatever, maybe.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. Also, Gabe, I did talk to a couple clients of mine that I've worked with in the past about doing like mock kind of consultations and stuff like that. They're totally into it. They're totally into it. And I know that's one of the things we talked about. I think in that same Zoom meeting was the possibility of getting like, you know, some people to sit down and do a Q&A kind of thing. So yeah,
amazing.
I'm down, man. Just let me know.
Now, what do you have for recording equipment?
That's the thing. I'm working on. I'm picking up a DSLR camera this week, and after that, I think the laptop and everything like that, and I'll be ready to go afterwards. So.
And then what about microphones? So the next thing would be microphones. If you're if you're talking with clients.
Okay.
The DSLR, you'll either want to get either some wireless mics or wired mics. Basically, is the two options you have.
Okay.
But you need you really do want to get a mic. Either I mean, I suppose you might be able to get away with a shotgun mic. Do you know any video people?
Yeah, I know a couple of them.
If try to get their advice, and then maybe run it by us. But they're probably better video people. Just to let them know what you're doing and where you're doing it, and make sure that you're getting good audio. And especially if you're investing in a DSLR, then make sure you're spending a couple extra bucks to get a good audio setup with it. Especially if you're going to be interviewing people, you know, and you'll use this setup more than once, obviously.
Okay, cool. I know exactly the person I need to talk to. So, killer.
Awesome.
Great,
man.
Well, it's about 4:00, guys. I actually do have to get running, and I've got to have a phone call with Guy too. So, Ricardo, why don't you go ahead, give us a quick sign off?
Yeah, my name is Ricardo Sturdivant. I work in Normal, Illinois at Candor Tattoo. You can find me on Instagram under @CandorTattoo. Today was great, Jason, Gabe. That was awesome, man. Today was really much needed, dude. It's like that amp that I need. You know what I'm saying? So like. It's killer. But if you guys ever want to just chit chat, man, I'm looking forward to trying out that like 24/7 Zoom that Gabe just put up recently on the Reinventing the Tattoo app. Super stoked about that, to just kind of drop in, be sketching, hanging out, listening to some music, watching some movies, man, just kind of chit-chatting with people.
I don't mean to interrupt, but that was cool.
Yeah.
I put it up, and all of a sudden there was a subscriber from Colombia who tuned right in.
Nice.
And
Nice.
but enough people have to do it at the same time, and we do need to test it out.
Okay.
So we might get a crew of people that are like, hey, we'll try to do again, because if I don't know if I have to be there to click the button.
Okay.
But like if you guys pop on it, or if you make a time for everyone to get together as you're doing, then we can make sure that works, because that would be fun if everyone had a spot where they could just tune in whenever they wanted to. Okay, sorry about that. We're actually
No.
getting out of here.
Yeah, killer.
Yeah.
Actually,
Awesome.
Jason and I are gonna be hanging out pretty soon, and maybe we can do something like that. Yeah, man. Either way, I'm looking forward to kind of working out the bugs with that whole situation and going from there. So yeah, Jason, it's all you, man.
Sounds great. So I'm going to go through. I'll pin myself. Thanks for joining us, everyone. My name is Jason Leeser. I work at the Inkwell Tattoo in Southampton, Pennsylvania. It's about 30 minutes north of Philadelphia. If you're ever interested in jumping in, feel free to click the link in the Reinventing the Tattoo app. I host these drawing groups and discussion panels every Sunday at 1 o'clock. I also try to jump into the Monday morning drawing groups with Jake Meeks, Monday mornings at 9 a.m. So feel free to jump into those as well. If at any point in time you guys ever have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you would like us to discuss or anything of that nature, feel free to send me a message. Also, if you're watching via YouTube, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button below. Really helps us out and really helps promote us. Plus, you get notifications for whenever we do these live events, so that you can tune right in. And we're always looking for more discussions and more participants. So thank you all for joining us and watching. And we'll be checking you out next weekend.
Take it easy, guys.